That's, yeah, I don't suggest that. I don't think you'll live for a moment like environmental. Yeah, it's social, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I was at a bar last night, and it's weird because I was at a really big bar a few months ago, right? It was a big space, and there's just like, yes, it's like, there's a big table, right? So just most of the people so I was like, oh, get out of here. I don't know. You know what? Okay. They're fun if you go with a bunch of people and you can just chill. But it's just weird because you go and like people are like hitting on your friends and they're like, dude, get the fuck up. I'm not gonna respond to that comment. You're just trolling my. I think you're just trolling my chat.
Yes, indeed.
Sonny? Oh yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? Talk about product placement. Yeah, as if. Wait, as if you have the product placement like Dasani. You're like, you're the only freaking water bottle out there. Or like, one of them. It's like when I see a commercial for Heinz ketchup, and you're like, yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, Trader Joe's organic ketchup. Right, sorry, that's the other one. Right. Anyway, it's like, why are you still advertising? Everybody knows you're the only ketchup to go with. Yeah, Camelworks I would love to do a collab with, but what was I gonna say? Hold on, I had something. Oh, product placement. I don't do, if you've noticed, I haven't done any promos on my channel or on Instagram or anything like that. But this is one company, Movement, and they reached out to me a few days ago, and they were like, hey, we'll send you, they've got these beautiful watches, these beautiful sunglasses, and they were like, hey, if you just post about our watch, we'll send you whatever you want. So I'm gonna be that dick who, like, in a few weeks, because I have to get it. They sent it to me. I have to get it still. It's in transit. Then I'll have to take a picture of it and be like, So I apologize. If anyone's following me on Instagram and you see that in a few weeks, I apologize. But I just wanted like a $200 watch. I'm so sorry. Sell out. It's fun to sell out. No, I'm kidding. You can never ever let your materialism judge you. But I like to think that if you're an okay person, you can treat yourself every once in a while. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Peace. Love you, Rhino. Have a good time, dude. What YouTuber do you mostly watch? I used to really fall in love with, like, personalities, but I don't anymore. Now I listen to, I just watch YouTube for educational stuff. Because I just don't have a lot of time, like, you've only got so much time in the day. When I personally do it, it's just, I'm listening to podcasts that I like. But if you've got a personality that you like to watch, that's when it's fun. So I just don't really have that right now. That's all. Yeah. Sydney, tell us your worst bar experience. All right, ready? So just going. I don't actually have. My friends and I. Okay, my friend and I went to this really big bar in Santa Monica, California. It is sponsorship, right? It is awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. You're on my team. Thank you. Anyway, I was at this bar called the Bungalow. It's a very big bar. If anyone knows California, you may have heard it. But my friend was like, all right, I have a funny way to talk to the, and they were like 35, at the time, it was a couple of years ago. They were like 35. So we went into it for just having shits and giggles, but he was like, I've got this great idea. We go up to this group of like it was literally like 6 or 7 35-year-old women. It was, it was just like, obviously they looked like they just got out of like the conferencing job. They were in suits and beautiful women, but they're obviously so much older. So my friend is like, all right, go up to them and just be like, hey, I don't mean to bother you or anything, but you're in my seat. You're in my seat. You're in my seat. And I do. I literally, when I just stopped them, I was like, oh, ladies, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to come off as rude or anything, but you're in my seat. That's my seats that you just decided to take. And they've been there for 2 hours. They've been there the entire time. So they looked at us like...
Alright, so I have no idea if anybody can hear this, or any of that. You can probably hear Green Wolf in the background streaming. Yeah, good for him. I like him. I've recently discovered him, and I've literally been binge watching his videos all day. So I'm going to turn down the streams a smidge to try and make sure you guys aren't like overly hearing that. But I'm going to continue watching him while I play Dark Souls 3. Yay! I'm also pretty terrible, so you can feel free to laugh in the comments if you want. Tell me how terrible I am. I do want to know. Inquiring minds do require the knowledge. I feel like if I make them look anything but standard, their proportions just look really weird in their armor. And sometimes that's cool, sometimes it's not. No, I'm gonna stay a dude. Young. I don't know. I find the young voice interesting. It's just more expressive, I think. We'll do muscular. Body hair. Yeah, we'll do hairy. He's a hairy dude. I'm a hurry dude. I feel like his neck's really long. Make his head like a little... just a little larger. We're gonna make him really freaking pale, because Irish skin is really freaking pale. For some reason I always make it to the left to try and do it pale when I'm not meaning to. We're gonna do like 150. We're going to be doing like apparent age being literally 0. Oh my. Well, I might have done that a bit much. We're gonna fix that a little bit. Nose size needs to be... Woo! That's... What? Why? How is this nose size? It's more like nose length. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that. Nostrils. Maybe that'll do it. Cheekbone. We shall make you have big cheeks. Cheekbone width, we're gonna go wide. Cheeks, pretty thick. Wow, look at that underbite. That's pretty, yeah.
Assassin's Creed. It seems that they did the Call of Duty effect, where now the most recent games are kind of just like, they've got this weird progression going, and it's kind of, well, I know that the developers of that game, they haven't noticed that, so they've been really working to reinvigorate the series, and I appreciate that. I haven't played one of the recent games, though, in a while, like the Egyptian one I didn't play that.
There, looks sufficiently angry. I need to fix the chin. Because the chin needs to be a bit
I would love to do top fives for that. So I want some good RPGs
more.
to come out because then it makes more sense to oh sorry, is that my beefcake? Sorry. I want more RPGs to make cool top fives on. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm actually okay. Fallout 76. I'm really not ready. I'm really not excited for it, but I think I'm gonna have a good time making videos on it. If that makes sense. I think there will be some good videos out of 76. I'm just not ready for it. That's all. But I hope I'm pleasantly surprised by it. How long is this fun? It's been quite 2 hours. I might stop at like, I don't know, 15.
Try and make it close to my actual haircut.
Yeah, that's the reason why we did play for a while.
If only I could make the top longer. Do. I guess this is kind of the closest thing. Brows. We need some big, crazy-ass eyebrows. Beards. The beards in this game look like absolute garbage. But I guess the closest thing to what I have had would be that. Leave the rest of it alone.
Geoffrey Chaucer gives Shakespeare a run for his money. Seriously, if you read the Canterbury Tales, the rhymes and the poetry in that is so advanced. It's so incredibly advanced and funny. He has such a good humor. Because the Shakespeare can get funny, like not nearly as enough, in my perspective. Geoffrey Chaucer was so funny creative writing the Canterbury Tales. My mother had an illustrated version of it. It's big. It's thick. It's thick. Big. And that was such a fun. I only got like halfway through it. That ironically I still didn't finish it. But that's been like probably my favorite read in my life. Is this John? You read that, and it's just like a creative thing you've ever read. It's like a series of wordsmith, Geoffrey Chaucer.
Ooh.
Talented freaking dude. Anyway, yeah. So 76.
We'll call that good.
I think it is good too, and I so badly don't, because it's like it doesn't affect, let's say you as much as it affects me. Selfish, but it's true. So like I don't want you to fail 76, but I think it is going to. I don't. It looks like just a reboot of Fallout 4 and like less to do. And I know they spin it in a way of like, oh, there's more to do because it's like we've got all these quests. But I think it's going to come down to just like, okay, you get some friends and you try to like create the fort. And then I know you don't want to get what's the term? They're like, I don't know. You spam. Let's say the computer launch codes and just kill these things to just like destroy all that hard work. Yeah, someone else might just have a monopoly on these launch codes and they're part of it.
Most people give people shit for starting as the Deprived or props, but realistically the Deprived starts with one of the strongest starting weapons in most Dark Souls games. The club itself is actually quite damaging. The shield is virtually useless, don't get me wrong. It's good for stopping arrows, that's about it. But this one-shot weapon.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Oh look, I got a notification on my phone. Hello, Jarvis. Now, I try to be one of those people that knows where, like, all of the loot is. You will see that I will try to collect as much as possible of the loot. Hurrah! It's a shame we can't steal their robes. At least we'd be clothed. Trading blows. Hurrah for Dark Souls strats. Down. Bad boy. I know several people that would give me crap for not going over there and fighting the crystal monster right off the bat, at least once. So, to appease the little bit of me that wants to go over here and at least see the crystal monster. Literally one of the most bullshit enemies in the game, and they put it in the starting area. It's fantastic. The soul isn't even really worth coming over here because of that. But at least I have that now.
No mods. It's 76. Is that confirmed then? I knew it was on the fridge, but is that confirmed that we're not going to get any mods at all? Because yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. Maybe you could argue that maybe it'll let you. No, I mean it's a lack of freedom as a trouble. So I don't agree with that. But I'm saying on the plus side, you could say, well, maybe we can focus more on what they do give us. It's funny when like a game, because mods tend to like expand that horizon so much that you forget that smaller armor that you could have worn that you first got in the game that was so exciting too. So I don't know, like maybe it'll allow us to enjoy the like game content more. But no, I get. But generally speaking, of course, mods they're amazing. They're amazing. So I don't know. I'm just trying to look at the plus side, but yeah. Yeah, I would love to stream more. I always say I always enjoy it until it's going to be I should do more, and I don't. This is maybe because I always feel I'm like, I'm not gonna enjoy it because I always just talk. I always just it's noise and talking. I feel bad. Get some of the props. So like to talk about because it's fun. If you have fun, it's fun. If you have props to talk about, that is always really fun. I love talking about psychological behavior. It's really yeah, false initiatives were going. Okay, are there literally no NPCs at all though? That worries me. That's like messed up. Yeah, it was funny.
But yeah, if anybody is watching this, you definitely should watch Graynolf's videos. Maybe in a bit when you're done with this. But yeah, he's pretty good, especially if you like Skyrim and Elder Scrolls games in general, or basically Bethesda games. Yeah,
Well, I mean, there's a part of this genetic
definitely a
part to it.
definitely a buddy to watch
Right now, he's
and subscribe. Definitely,
it's not
I play them as well,
but I
but
narrate.
since I don't really have a following, I just kind of play what I feel like, and if people like that, so be it. The only people that currently follow me, I believe, are mostly my friends or a bot or two. But no bots that I've started, mind you, but yeah. I have to keep my title as the Loot King. Must kill enemies. No. Alright, there's no loot right along the path. There is loot there, though. But I'm going to kill this annoying enemy first. Yeah, I really hope you guys can actually hear this, or I'm just talking into the space. Into all of the space! I suppose I could go and check out my YouTube channel myself on my phone to check, but then I'd have to leave the Graynolf stream. Huh. I don't want to do that. I do have other devices I could use, but I don't really want to go get that. So... I'll fight this boss, then go check. And yes, I'm letting him stand up and not getting the free damage. Oh, got too greedy. Got too greedy. And I've died. Yep. Oh, that's right. Just taunt me and stand on my corpse.
You think of like algae, and you shouldn't go in that water because it's probably got some thing that you're not supposed to touch. So it's a lot more fun to sail in a flowing river that eventually goes into a broader ocean. That speed is an important thing. What was number 5? Ethos. And that's, I don't know fucking know what that is. That's like convincing people that your idea is meaningful, something like that. Something like that. Verity is just truth. So you're a truthful speaker. You don't lie to your audience. And then number 7 is decorum. Just, overall gravity of all these things put together. An overall decorum of everything is fusing all together. So I hope this, I hope this helps. A lot of people will talk about, they like my voice or whatever. Well, I don't just talk. There are some things that I try to think about. And speed, I would say the biggest one is like clarity. Can you hear what I'm saying? Speed is an important one. I know what I'm going to say, so why should I pause for you? I'm just going to go. I'm just going to talk. Decorum, is kind of like, I'm just going to talk. I'm just thinking about this, thinking about that. There's a sort of flow to it. It's nice. It's actually enjoyable to listen to. Not harsh all the time. Quiet all the time. There's a sort of flow of emphases and all this. That might be something compelling to listen to. So anyway, if you're thinking about this in your personal life, okay, good. Good.
Hurry, I'm actually
Yeah, 7 step
seemingly live. Let's see if I can hear my own voice.
in your personal life. Okay, good. Good.
Hurry, I'm actually
Yeah, 7 step
seemingly live. Let's see if I can hear my own voice.
in your personal life. Okay, good.
Hurry, I'm actually
Yeah, 7 step
seemingly live. Oh, cool. I actually have people trying to talk to me.
Hurry, I'm actually
Seemingly live. Oh, cool. I actually I'm going to turn the volume down there so that my stream doesn't double stream itself and just start creating an endless loop like it was trying to there. Alright, neat. Now, back to the what's I was doing. Now that I've got the loots, I don't need to go kill them again. Although there is one piece of loot that has forever eluded me. And only because I usually screw this up. Can I get it? Yeah, I get it. And yes, feel free to laugh that I screwed that jump up. It's not hard. It's just, I, for whatever reason, aim wrong, like, every time. Also, the first time I ever started a character in this game was a deprived, and this boss fight, I died. My friends and I counted because they were playing the game at the same time as because we all bought the game to play together. But I know, it's funny, right? Buying a Dark Souls game to actually play with other people intentionally. What is this sorcery? But yes, it is the truth. And yeah, this boss fight, 37 deaths for me. Like 7 for them, but like 37 for me. Nope, 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 nope. Bad. Bad. That is not nice. Bad boy. Whew. I thought for sure I wouldn't have made that one. Oh no, oh no. Alright, this part, he's just very deadly but predictable. And usually get 2 or... You can actually... Oh, apparently you cannot crit him there. Thought you could. Greedy for the third hit. Where's my praise the sun? Oh, okay, I don't have the praise the sun out. That's... Oh, I don't have it yet, that's why. Well, praise the sun. I also don't have any of the XP item yet. Well, that's sad, but... And I should probably sleep here because I'm going to need to go get the items while I go. Swap back to Grey Nolf stream on my phone so I can watch the thing. Shoosh. I don't know if you can hear all these little burps, but part of me doesn't really care about that part. Although I am thirsty like you would not believe right now. Might have to reach for a certain Irish beer. Down. Now that one I have. Down. Now, one thing that a lot of people do, here at least, because he's really, really ridiculously hard to fight early game until you have an overpowered weapon, is in fact not this guy. Okay, not him. But it is in fact the Master, who we shall see shortly. After I own all of these guys. Two-handed just for fun. Oops. Well, not what I meant to do, but it'll work, because this is Sparta. Did I kill them yet? I did not. Now, yes, this used to one-shot these guys around here. Or, it appeared to on the guys earlier, but the guys earlier are meant to be, like, one-shottable. They have, like, 70 health. I think I have, like, 100 health. Actually, how many shells do I have? Oh, I actually have a lot more than I thought I did. Okay, then. Yeah. Especially now that I'm embered. But that's beside the point. Everybody in Dark Souls looks just anorexic, like all the people walking around. Especially my characters, because I usually make them, like, standard or slimmer, because the fat people in this game just look ridiculous. Especially with armors that already make you look fat, like Smaug's or... the Winged Knight armor, or the Legend, the Love, the Life, the Onion Bro. Okay, see, when he does that, he's trying to parry you. He can also do that attack. So I'm going to cheat. Some people do this to beat this guy, because he's a pain in the ass to fight. Like that. He has a habit of killing you quickly, because he is just the absolute most annoying first enemy. Greynolf made a similar whoopsie, but he accidentally angered Hawkwood, which is why he's still level 9, because Hawkwood is not merciful, especially early game. I don't know how he angered him, though. All I did was pop into the stream one day here, while I'm watching him right now, actually, and earlier he went on to Dark Souls and was, like, getting dunked on by all of Hawkwood as a level 9 knight, I think. But, I'm just gonna start this one up, because... yeah, embed that sword. Yeah! I love how he moves his hand behind him like he's actually doing something. Like pulling out a shield when he's not. But anyway, let's go get the pitiful amount of souls that I had on there. I mean, early game it's not super pitiful, but it is something. Don't look at me. You see nothing. Just getting my souls. It's fine. You don't need me. You want to come here. I was hitting the attack button, you schmuck. Why didn't you attack? No. Dark Souls. Okay. We're just going to rush right past like everybody up here. Thought I had slept at the Firelink Shrine, so I wouldn't have to fight most of these guys, but I guess not. Let's go correct that.
I'll either play a game that I'm really compelled by, that will be fun to watch, that I'm actually good at, or I'm going to write down some notes. But, yeah, I'll get in here, guys. Yeah, you call me that. I don't know. I listened to that one. For some reason, I didn't like that one. But anyway, guys, I appreciate it. So I'm leaving for a week. I know I only upload like once a week anyway, so it's not like a huge deal, but I'm just letting you know. So, I don't know. If you want to just throw this on and you're cleaning or something, here you go, for like a week. It'll be a little bit more than that, because then, you know, I'm gone for a week, then I have to come back and I have to work. So probably be a week and a half until I'll upload again. So anyway, this is the reason I did this. But, let's get the music off, guys. Thank you. Have a good time. Get a good chill. Yeah, this is the best. I love the live stream. It would be fun. I feel like I want to do this live stream a little bit more. It's like a podcast. That would be really fun. So if you've got, just got things to reel off, let's hit, you know, that would be fun. I would like that. If I'm not going to game, it's either one. But, guys, have a good time. I'll have a good time. If anyone's not following me, sorry to plug this, but if you're not following me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Grainolf. I'll probably be posting stuff from New Hampshire, and that's a beautiful place. So if you want to stay up to date with me, you want to have a discussion, I love it, because whenever I do an Instagram post, I like it. I sort of have a prompt and also a question, and then everyone can sort of join in. It's fun. I love it. Instagram's great. Instagram's great. So anyway, so guys, thank you so much. Good luck at school. Good luck. Yes, Sunday, right? Have a good, relaxing rest of your Sunday. Well, Sunday for us in the U.S. Sleep well. Have a good rest of your day. Whatever you're doing tomorrow.
Sorry, I'm just going back here to my own YouTube channel to get back to my video so that I can watch the chat on my video in case. And now I'm going to mute the volume so we don't end up with the... There we go. Okay, back to getting my souls. After getting the owned. Yeah, I don't know why I take so much time designing my character's face. With all the armor in this game, you basically never see their head. Unless you just don't wear a helmet. If you just don't wear a helmet, you're just gonna die. A little more, because you'll be a little less protected. I tried. Had he been a little closer to the edge there, I think that would have worked, or if I had just not run out of stamina. And maybe that's where I should put my first couple of stat points. And the stamina. Sorry about that. Wow. Little cough there. Yep. And I didn't even correct it because I'm an idiot. Oh well. Let's go get those souls. And ignore all of these guys, because they're worth, like, no souls. Even early game, they're just annoying until you get a decent weapon, which is why I'm trying to kill the master. Because I'm a katana guy myself. I mean, my friends have convinced me into banking many a strength build because they wanted me to try their weapons, but the katanas are what brings me back. Especially the black blade. That thing just is all of the good. Damn. I know I have not the Graynolf followers, but I try. And yes, I was shamelessly advertising myself in his chat a little bit here and there. I tried to keep it to a minimum, but guys got to try something, right? Especially since I have not the followers. Oh, I forgot to eat some stuff, actually. Well, we'll give the master a break for a moment. I'll go get my souls after I grab the ember, at least. Because that is, like, the lifeline. That is the, hey, I needed the help button. Well, that was not what I intended. Sometimes the lock-on is your friend, and sometimes it is your frenemy, and then there's some times where you're just like, really? Really, game? That was... yeah. Back to it. Yeah, I will say, though, there is one thing to be said for Dark Souls, and that is, it is quiet. Like, there's not really background music for the most part, except in, like, boss fights. When there is background music, it's beautiful, but most of the game is rather, well, background noisy, but not like... Ooh. The most difficult part of any Dark Souls game. Retrieving your souls from a bullshit enemy. And they're going to be on the steps again there, which means they're going to be hard to get. Well then. Well, at least the latency on my chat and stuff is not too bad. It's decently on point. I'm sick of running up the hill. This isn't much better, and you'll see why if he kills me again. But it is what it is. I say if, because I'm optimistic. I am not, however, as optimistic about those souls. Oh no. Oh no. Oh yes. Wonder if the volume I'm speaking is actually delayed too. It probably is. I would have a camera going, but the only camera I have is literally the old Xbox 360 camera. And I don't know that, I don't think that would work well. This right here. This is why this is not the much better shrine. Because whenever you spawn in Firelink, there is the fog walls. The fog walls are everywhere. You can't even be invaded in here. Why they put fog walls, I don't really know, but fog walls. Maybe you used to be able to be invaded here. I don't know. I didn't come on right at the beginning. I came in later. Much, much later, because I'm broke most of the time. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do next is death cheat. And what I mean by this is I'm going to try and get the master to run himself off the edge, and in so doing cause my death probably. I might just steal my souls though, and then just run the fast. All the fast. I need out game. I want to go that way. Thank you. No. Darn, he almost backed himself up there. His AI is pretty strong. I wish it would show my viewers, or at least the amount. The chat, does it show it anywhere else? It shows it there. I'm gonna like my own video because I can. Come on, open. 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 Do it. Come on. If this continues, I may switch to my more decked out character. My friend and I have been playing a while, and we're almost to playthrough 7. We've been rushing for it because we want to get to the most souls possible to get from your enemies, and then we're gonna hover there a while we make new characters and go to more meta leveling. Because we're like level 500 on the other one. Not really. I'm like maybe level 300 almost. Almost. Too. I'm not even like exactly. Alright, death cheat time. Kind of worked. We got him in the right spot, but I need to change his angle a little bit. At least my souls should be there. I'm just going to two-hand this shield. I'm just going to smack him with the shield. Forgive the occasional sniffle. Still have the remainder of a mild sinus infection draining down my throat. So occasionally I have to clear my nose or I can't breathe. Because unlike some people, I'm not a mouth breather. And yes, I said breeder. It sort of worked. Got into the right position. Yeah. I'm going to kill you, Master. Not going to try it that cheap way, though. I'm just going to do 1 and 1. Well, not going to try that cheap way anymore, anyway. And that cheap way is only really functional if it works. There's, like, a few more foolproof strategies to kill him. I just choose not to follow those. I like to play my own way. Like, if I play Overwatch, my friends will not play with me, because I don't necessarily play what supports the team. I play what I enjoy playing, because if you don't enjoy playing a game, you shouldn't play it. And I just don't enjoy playing that game competitively, which they insist upon. So I simply keep my playing of Overwatch to a minimum. Yes, I cheated him. Wait, did he not die fully? Oh, there he is. Okay. Goodbye, Master. I'm sorry. You deserve better. You deserve better, Master Senpai, but unfortunately, I'm not good enough to fight you. Not with these weapons, anyway. On my more decked out character, he's like nothing. Easily killable. Easily. As long as you don't get cocky and let him kill you. I think cocky's okay to say on YouTube. I mean, I'm not saying, like, it in the terms of, I don't know. I should probably keep my streamer age limit to be, like, adult age. Because I'm not very family friendly. I swear. I swear a lot. And besides that, my background for my computer is, well, shall we say, not safe for work. Though I don't know if it would show it or not. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to find out and get banned from YouTube for, suspect images. So we'll just try not to show that. But now that I've killed the Master, pretty sure it's just if you save it, if you rest, it'll do it, but pretty sure you might have to actually, like, die or teleport to the same location or what have you in order to get it to happen. But his stuff, since he went off the edge, the developers were kind enough to program in, there we are, a foolproof, shall we say, especially because he's near an edge. Stuff that falls off of an edge on an NPC, if you rest and come back to that spot, at least his stuff, maybe not every NPC's, but definitely his, will be there still. Now, you see what I mean? Even the Uchigatana is not necessarily better than this weapon. It's just a very formidable starting weapon. The plank shield's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not good. So we're going to switch to a slightly better shield. I'm going to leave the club equipped and also equip the Uchigatana. Wow, can't even wield you if I two-hand you. Not effectively, anyway. I can still wield it, I just won't do anywhere near as much damage. Okay, so I need 7 levels to be able to effectively wield this. I've got a few levels, I don't know about 7 though. But here, I'll show you what I mean. Even if I two-hand it, just give me the best stats possible. It's still 3 shots them versus 1-shotting them like it should. Because I'm not wielding it effectively. The attacks are also slower. And take a little bit more build-up. One-handing it, it just slows it down a lot. When you have like a higher dex stat, it usually is like a decent chunk faster. It's not the most amazing starting weapon, but it is definitely better than some. Now, I'm going to rest and get my Estus pack, even though I'm going to be teleporting out of here in a few moments. Then I'm going to talk to our Firekeeper. Yes, I'm going to skip most of her dialogue. I've heard a lot of it, like millions of times before. Not literally millions, mind you, but, you know, exaggerated millions. So it was strength and dex. Yes, I have enough. I won't do a ton of damage with it, but I can wield it effectively at least. Now, see, early game embers are the bits. They do all the work. But the first thing you should buy is the white sign soapstone, and then maybe the dried finger. Then buy embers. Because the white sign soapstone is the way for you to get embers. Not necessarily the best way, because it's not the fastest, but, well, at least not that the game's not as, shall we say, meta anymore, because it's just kind of fallen into obscurity and there's just less people playing it. Still people play it, but not a lot. Oh, and this tree will drop a seed if you're invaded. But it's not a guaranteed drop. It drops, I think it's like 15% of the time, so every time you're invaded you should always come back here afterwards and check, just to make sure you're getting the most possible use out of it. Now, here there's a glitch you can abuse. If you run at this tree, see how it just like sent me up the tree and then down the tree? You can run and jump to try and get on the roof. It takes a bit of playing with to do, but if you can get on the roof, you can get secret things. There's a way to get up there legitimately. You have to buy like $20,000 worth of a key to go up there. Well, 20,000 souls, but that's Dark Souls is $1, so. And you kind of have to hit it at the right angle. You can try charging right at it like I've been, but sometimes you have to go like that way and then quickly jump. It usually helps if you take off literally all of your gear so nothing's weighing you down, because it ups your chances of getting up there just a little, because you can jump just a little bit better. Or you can mess up colossally sometimes too. I'm going to try 2 more times. Close. No. 1 final time, because the first time I got close. I got a little closer that time. Oh, come on, I almost had it. If there's one thing that makes you want to try something again, it's almost getting it. Not actually getting it, just getting close. There's nothing I can get up here right now, but later there will be. I don't always recommend leaping all over filing like this because it's painful, but it is what it is. On to our first location of suffering. Some of you may ask, why have you not donned the master's robes? Surely they must be more protective than what you're wearing. The answer is that I forgot I had them, and that they only cover so much, but they do help. Just a bit. They make you roll just a little slower, because if you're over 20% on your weight cap, then you do this roll. If you're under 20%, oh, so close. You roll just the slightest bit faster. If you're completely naked, which ironically gives you more clothes than the deprived, see, there's just like that noticeably faster roll. Don't know why I checked the helmet. I know there's nothing there, and I know there's... It is what it is. But, the less weight you have, the more capacity you have for rolling. Now, the faster roll that's like this is just a slight bit slower than the fastest roll. Gives you the ability to keep that same speed of roll. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't decrease any until you hit, I think it's 60 or 70% of your weight cap. And once you hit the 60 or 70% of your weight cap, then you do what I and my friends refer to, and a lot of people else, I believe, also refer to it as fat rolling. When you roll because you're fat. And slow. Fat and slow. I must specify both. Now, what I'm going to real quick do is go on my Discord and see if my friend is awake. And is he awake? He is. DS3? Question mark. New character? Question mark. At least he's online. Whether he's actually waking or not, well... Oh, looks like he is actually awake. Darn, he's going to bed in a few moments. No, doggy! No! No! I'm sorry, doggy. I'm a dog person. I don't want to kill you. But you make me have to. You make me a mean person. Why are you gonna make me a mean person, doggy? Why? I don't draw pleasure from hurting you. Wow, I sound like a wife abuser right there. Whoa! Whoop, 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 whoop. Why do you make me hurt you, sweetie? Oh, that's terrible. Now. No. Darn. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of embering up every single time you go down. These are realistically only needed if you actually intend to summon people. I don't intend to summon people, I intend to be summoned. At least for now. Until I have more embers. Being summoned can be dangerous. Summon's gonna fail. It's because I'm using my internet to stream. That's what it is. Oh, poop. Is it gonna work? It is. Awesome. Oh my. That when they do that, when they're doing the standstill run, That's lag. That's all lag. I might not be able to live stream, and also see, I would get the more dangerous enemies for the host, but I'm kind of killing the useless ones. Huh, I want to read that message, but I don't think I can. I can. I disparage because it is awful. Well, host, I wasn't going to try and make you go that way, because you can take a little fall damage right here. And it's not really worth it. But yeah, the good way to make the souls early game, aside from just finding a good spot and farming for them, is honestly just getting summoned. Because even when you defeat enemies here, you get a portion of the souls the host does. It's like a 14th, but it's something. See, we already made a decent little chunk. Oh, you really shouldn't have done that. That's fine. I defend you, host. Come with me. Yeah, that was just an oifum up there. Yeah, I got you. I hate this guy. He kills me like every time I'm down here early game. And I hate that I have like no Estus. Now I can get the little chunk I have here. I'd say early game, it's not really worth going back for because they're so easy to get back. Until you have like 5 or 10k. Once you get to like the point where it's at like 5 or 10k level, generally base it off of like every 5 levels worth of souls is what I would say. Except late game, because that's like a lot of souls. Like late game, you're talking a mill a level, which takes a minute even late game souls wise. Because after playthrough 7, they stop giving you more souls for kills. It reaches its plateau. You're getting the most you're going to get out of any enemy. As far as I'm aware, there are none that give you anything higher on that one. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. I thought for 100% certain I was going to miss that. Now, if we fight them one at a time... No! Oh well. I really hope it saves this video to my YouTube. Because I don't know that it will. Pretty sure I said it to, but... whether it actually will... Come on. Come on, puppy. Thought for certain I was going to miss again. Didn't think that was going to work. Glad it did, don't get me wrong. But never thought that was going to work. That's right. Come on, doggy. Don't bring your friendo. We do not want your friend. We want you, doggy. Because it's all about you. Because you're fast-moving and agile and annoying. And he is fast-moving, agile, and annoying. And if I stay very still, he won't notice me because I'm covered in black blood and partially shadowed because of a lighting glitch, I think. No, I'm just really covered in that much blood. Alright, now as far as this guy goes, he's one you have to watch out for because he's very deadly. Except that, you know, backstabs. But that's only once you get good at them, because the sweet spot on Dark Souls 3 is not quite as extreme as it was in previous games. Previous games were pretty awful about it. They were pretty extremely huge. Especially the first one. The first one was the worst of them for it. I think it had the biggest of the sweet spots, personally. Felt like it was the easiest to backstab people in that one, plus you could literally chain backstab until people were dead, and there was nothing that they could do to stop it. Which is something that, to this day, they have not fixed in Dark Souls 1, as far as I'm aware. The remastered version even still has that, where you can literally chain backstab people to death. It's frustrating, but the also nice part was that in Dark Souls 1 it was a little bit easier to avoid. Also, in Dark Souls 3, these messages that say, if I only had an illusion, or smack here, or, you know, things like that that basically tell you to hit the wall, feel free to trust them, because, I mean, that little red bar below my weapon there is its durability, and every time you rest at a bonfire, it fills back up. Like, it just completely repairs itself, and you don't even need to get an item or anything. It just repairs. So, you don't really need the repair powder in this game unless you've just gone a long time without getting killed, or resting in a bonfire, or what have you. But, since I don't need to go back that way, case in point, fully repaired, Estus back. The bonfires are much more forgiving in Dark Souls 3 than they were in previous renditions of the series. Because in previous renditions of the series, you could literally break your weapons like they were nothing. Like in Dark Souls 1, weapons were basically made of tissue paper. Common complaint for most players. Like, tissue paper would probably have actually made better weapons. Because at least it's easier to replace. That guy does that. He screams. If you let him scream for more than that instant that I let him, all of these guys get woken up from their little hollowed out daydream and start trying to absolutely dominate you, and this early game they will. Even late game they can be kind of scurry because they do a bit more damage late game, especially as a group. Individually, they're one hits, but you can see there's a lot of them. So at any point them ganging up on you is going to cause a stun lock, pretty much. You're essentially dead. Unless you roll out of it, or do several things to prevent it. Now, I've never actually seen where that guy goes, so I want to see if there's a better opportunity to off him than just running over there and hoping for the best. Because I don't think there is. Pretty sure he just walks in a circle. Randomly strikes at nothing. Is he trying to break the chairs? This guy you definitely don't want to let them wake up from, because not only do you have these two, but you have two more up there, one of which is waiting to shove you off the ledge and the other is just kind of sleeping there. Then you have these three guys who are a little bit more heavily armed and take 2 hits each. 3 hits on that one, but 2 on the normal ones. So there's that guy and the guy there that's light is showing. There's not really anything up here that's realistically even worth it to come up here and fight these two guys. Their souls aren't worth it. And the only thing up here to get is legit something that you will probably never use. Because in all of Dark Souls 3, there is but one use for binoculars, and that is staring at butthole. Like, legitimately just like putting it on and trying to stare into things, or something. They're basically useless. They're just an item that you will probably perpetually have in your inventory and maybe use once. Just because. Because it's like, oh, well, I picked it up, might as well use it, but realistically, what are you going to do with binoculars? There's not really anything to see that you can't just see by yourself. Like, there's just nothing you really need binocs for. Like I said, Loot King, I just kind of go for it all. Every playthrough, as useless as most of it is, I always go for it because every soul counts, and every firebomb is useful. Because one more firebomb is one more firebomb to throw at an invader, or an annoying fire-weak enemy like Ludex. Yeah, that's right, first boss, weak to fire. Which is why they left the firebombs, in the hope that some poor poor schmuck will grab those firebombs and hope for the best. Oh no, he isn't supposed to follow. That's not supposed to happen. Now if we climb really quick... Oh, can he not follow? Did he just... He is inside the wall. That's a glitch. Yep. I'm scared to go in there now, because now he's just, like, sitting there.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
He is now inside the wall. That is terrifying because I don't know if he's going to drop down and surprise me or not. Now, I will say this though. Up by that dragon, there are several useful items. Are they worth getting burned for because it hurts really early game? No. Not really. Do you have enough arrows to kill that thing early game? Hell no. Are you welcome to try? Absolutely. For whatever reason, the fire down here doesn't burn you, but the fire up there does burn you. Don't question it. Because questioning things in Dark Souls usually is going to get you killed. I think there was an item back there, but I don't want to go find out because, you know, deadly enemy. Especially that guy. That guy is one of the hardest first initially encountered enemies. If not the hardest first initial encountered enemy. Because his attack pattern is rather rapid. He has quick swivels and can easily overwhelm an inexperienced player. This is where I would say the average first person is going to die in Dark Souls for one of their first 5 deaths. Because they are just ridiculous to kill. See the shield smash that he can just kind of do infinitely? That's one of the reasons he's like the hardest. Because when you try and roll past, his attacks can grab you because he's got a wide freaking radius, and then when you're trying to like do the Dark Souls 1 run against his shield until he runs to the side thing, like that, he can do stupid things like that. So, even an experienced player like me, gonna take damage fighting that guy mostly. Surely because he's just annoyingly strong for an early game enemy. Like, legitimately one of the first enemies you encounter, and also legitimately one of the most pain in the ass enemies. Early game, at least. Those guys down there we really don't need to fight just this second. So I'm going to quickly go up here, grab this first bonfire. I might switch to another game eventually, but not right now. Yeah, buddy. That's what you do. You know. That guy down there, though, you do not need to fight just yet. You will need to kill him, don't get me wrong. But you do not, at this current moment, need to fight him. I, in fact, would recommend against it. Now, this guy here, you're going to want to lure in first. Just to make this spot easier on yourself by that much. Or not, because I ran out of Estus like an idiot. But this is why we grab the bonfire. Because we do stupid things. We are Dark Souls players. We are far from human being perfect. And I'm picking my nose. Yes, I needed to share that experience with you, because I'm sure you might hear the tone of my voice changing, or it might sound funny. Just my hands like between my nose and my face. Because I need to. Because again, I'm not a mouth breather. I need my nose to be clear. Alright. Nasal cavity clear. Sort of. Sort of clear. Now, as far as that dragon goes, there are 2 spots to kill him from. One is here, and with arrows. The other is over there, with arrows. Because, as far as I have found, there is just not a way to kill him without arrows. I don't really think you can hit him with your sword. If you find a place, hey, post the video in the comment section, not combat. Well, I suppose it could be a combat section depending on how people use it, but in either case, post it in the comment sections, let me know. I would like to know, because there is a really good chest that's a mimic, spoilers, over there, but kind of nigh impossible to get to this early game because of, you know, that guy. I will warn you though, mimics this early game are punishing. There's not really enough supplies for you to cheat them, and yes, there is a way to cheat them, and yes, I will later show you that, but that guy that was hiding there is one of the reasons that I would recommend not fighting this guy right here directly. Because there's him, there's the other guy, and these 2. Not that these 2 are difficult. Okay, spoiler. See the guy that was just reaching out for the trees right there? In the sort of top middle, like right on the middle of the roof. Not the guy that's reaching straight up, but the guy that's reaching out in front of him. That guy is one of the Transformer guys. And I've been told that what those guys are called is a pus of man. While I don't fully understand the name, because they don't really look all that pussy, nor do they realistically look like men, because let's be honest, the undead in this game don't have quote-unquote features to associate gender to. So, are they gender neutral? Maybe. Are they something else? Maybe. Are they genderless? Probably. I mean, they're shriveled. I don't imagine there's anything left down there. And they mostly just kind of wear very neutral clothing, so not really a way to determine them there. Even the soldiers you can't quite determine, because, let's be honest, thick armor hides boobs. Sadly, a truth of thick armor. Just, it hides boobs. So if you want to see boobs, don't wear thick armor. Or rather, if you want to show yours off, not necessarily to see them, but, you know, technicalities. Alright, that guy there, kind of an a-hole. Because he's not the only one here that shoots arrows. That guy also shoots arrows, and this guy will try to kill you pretty well. And even that initial fall does not kill thing 1. From over here, he will actually climb up and try and murder you. Again. Because you're definitely just not gonna, wait up here. Be careful with that, because if you do swing wrong. You will go off that edge. It will hurt. There's also that other guy down there, but we're not going to bother him because there's no point. Now, I'm going to show you the location of a shortcut you can take. You can drop onto that ledge and then onto there and run that way for the boss room. You can do that. I'm not going to, and I'll tell you why. Because I like what's called a gray rat. And no, it's not spelled gray as in the color. It's gray as in G-E-I. Gray. There's also an R, but I'm not claiming to be a spelling bee champ now, am I? This guy here. Next most punishing enemy. Overall. This guy hurts. No way around it, he just hurts. If you want to try and roll around him, great. You can do it. I just did it there, for example. But that great shield can tank basically anything you can throw at it. And that attack is very prolonged, and it does track you. As you just seen. Even though I was kind of out of the radius of it, also wasn't. Wide attack range is also something you can expect from the enemies of Dark Souls. Now, having showcased that, it does not, however, make them invulnerable. In fact, rather far from it. They're quite vulnerable. Now, normally I would not do this part this way, but I'm going to try and ooh, got a helmet. Makes me a little heavier, but it'll give me just a little bit more protection. Now again, you want to run up here and just wreck this guy, because if he completes the transformation, you're screwed, because they hurt. Early game especially. Even late game, they're kind of terrifying, because they turn into the thing that popped out of Ludic's Gundir's back. No, I would rather not show you this, because you've seen it. It's the Archer Boy will try and follow if we do nothing, so we must do something. And this guy will, like I said, survive pretty much every time. I forgot about that one. And that guy in there is terrifying. See? People are funny. Although, why those don't smash and these do smash, and there aren't any remains in them, well, one can only speculate. Now, can you time it right and run in there and grab the stuff and all that? Yeah. But again, we want the gray rat. We need our gray rat, because a gray rat is a useful friend. Also the most legendary sneak thief in all of Dark Souls. But okay, so we don't need to go back in that room. As long as you don't go in there, they ain't gonna get agitated, I don't think. Now, that said, this guy may as well be one living bundle of agitation. Yeah, I did it right before I died. But yeah, like I said, this dude is punishing. Now, what I'm really going to show you as far as speedrunning goes is just absolutely bum rushing. Because you don't need to fight any of these guys. Don't even need to fight this guy, who will transform, but that's beside the point. Now you've seen the terrifyingness. Ironically weak to fire, though. Terribly weak to fire. I don't know if this guy drops. Yeah, he'll try and shoot me still. But that's fine. He isn't going to be able to get me. Good, my souls were over here, and I still retained them. Oh yeah. Always a soul there. Sometimes it's okay to trade hits. Sometimes it's not. Becoming a good Dark Souls player is partially learning when it's worth it and when it isn't. Like right here. Worth. Because now we've killed him. Sadly, he respawns though. Yeah. I don't really need to kill him, but I'm doing it anyway. So, there's two things here. One, you can go this way. Good, viable way to go. You get things. However, better way to go, first, is this way. But only till you get the sword, because that's the only difference. You end up at the same spot either way. And arguably, the other way is a better spot. There is, however, one thing that I would do first before we come back up and go that way, and that's go very quickly in here into the right and around the corner. Because that guy sitting up there on that railing, he don't know you're coming. How he doesn't know you're coming still beyond me, but also that Silver Eagle Knight shield, pretty potent shield. Case in point, it blocks 100% physical. Now, blocking 100% physical damage is great and all, but it also takes stamina to block, and I don't have much of that. So I might be able to completely negate a physical attack, but I might only be able to block twice. Keep that in mind. It's also a little heavier. There's plenty of shields that actually block 100% physical. My favorite one of which, and I think most people's favorite one of which, is the Shield of Want, which we sadly do not get till much later. This long sword, however, is a pretty formidable weapon. It's also good with lightning and chance, but that's beside the point. Now the reason I come this way is because here you can jump down on a lot of enemies. You can see a lot of enemies. You can kill a lot of enemies. However, the one thing that's not so good, oops, I clicked the wrong end button, is that while you can kill a lot of enemies, you're also exposed. So any enemies that are ranged are going to be able to hit you, which means that guy that was right there, when we came back and killed, shoved off the edge that's now there, he throws fire bombs, which can reach you here, which are explosive. However, see those barrels there with the ropes on them? Those ones right there actually explode when oil is thrown at them. I believe you saw me do that when I was in that other person's world as a phantom earlier, where I got exploded. Oh, I do a bit more damage than I thought I would. That's good. Now, the axe guy is not, however, going to be that weak. So him, we want to try and make angry. Because he'll run up there, being all scary. but you'll see he doesn't actually come up there. He'll get tired of running and come back down. There he is. We can see him from here. Oops. Now, the closer an enemy is to you, the more range damage you'll do. I'm trying not to waste arrows. I kind of missed on the one, which is an oh well. So, when you want to not throw an arrow, you can just roll. I think there's another way to do it, but... Oh, shit. That's really not what you want to do. That is the exact polar opposite of what you want to do in that situation. Exact polar opposite. That was the no-no. That was the bad. I did bad there. That was not good. Do not do that. That said, however... it did get them moving. So, perk. Perk of the scrub. Now, when you're standing near an edge, don't touch the B button. Pulling off is deadly. So what I'm more scared of is him. Perfect honesty. I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can to them, because they're point-blank assholes. Oh, you gotta be shitting me. You've got to be shitting me. You've got to actually be shitting me. So filthy. Do I have any rings yet? No. Didn't think so. Also, don't use this. Always start with this. I'm not telling you why. I'll show you why shortly. But always start with it. Because... alright, that's one problem there. Now, firebombs. Useful substance. But they make you take a step while you're throwing them, and they're almost impossible to get really good at free aiming. Locking on's your best option, but that makes you vulnerable. That said... oh, he actually went a bit further for that one. Probably because he's weaker to fire than some. That guy is a douche. We don't want him around, but it's unavoidable, so... well, unavoidable if you want certain things. And I most definitely want the certain things. Because the certain things is this key, which is why I'm risking going down into a dead end to get it. It's worth the death. And that trade would have been worth, probably. This is the next item that's really worth coming over here for. The Estus Shard. Because that is going to give us more of the happy drink. I'm also going to get rid of my mana flask, because I don't need it right now. I don't have any spells to use. But we'll do that in a minute. First, what we're going to do is come out here and grab the last item of any real import for coming this way. And that item is down there. You want to kind of wait until he's a decent ways away, because there's this guy and you don't want to fight them both. You want to try and come up here about the time he's on the exact opposite side, so that you can go around while he goes around. While that guy gives a decent amount of souls for a starter enemy, well, starter area enemy, he's not really a starter enemy, he's kind of a pain in the ass. Even late game, those guys hurt. But you can do that. Next, we want to get the shortcut opened as fast as possible. And the shortcut's up the
Excuse me,
stairs.
there is a message for you.
There's also an ambush. So, first thing I'm going to do is go grab that. And then, next thing I'm going to do is go up here and text somebody back. And now I'm going to carry on. You see that guy? Seems lonely, right? But on the railing directly behind him and to his right, there are enemies hanging off the edge waiting to eat you. They're not strong enemies, but they are scary in groups, especially this early game. Oh, and occasionally you can get Estus back just from killing certain numbers of enemies, which is useful. How that didn't hit me, I'm not questioning. That should absolutely have hit me. I just cheated there, I guess, apparently. Because that really should not have hit me at all. But yeah, first thing you want to do is kill them and come up here before you do anything else. And I'll show you why. Because this door might look familiar once you realize where we're at. Because once you open this door, the area you're in becomes infinitely more memorable. Because we were just there, huh? Damn, I was hoping that guy would trigger it. But yeah, right there is why we open the shortcut. Because if you get killed, you can run back through the shortcut to go down there. Get all your stuff back. But yeah. Now, something you can do, that I choose to do a lot, is get rid of those and that. All three of those are essentially useless. The white soap sign is really all you need this early game. You want to put that down whenever you can, because, summoning is good. Especially early game. Now, the one thing that I just did stupid, though, is that summoning here isn't going to help me. I already have the shortcut open. So, the best thing you can do is actually go back to the High Wall of Lothric. Now, what I should have done there is probably go back to Fireling Shrine first, but that's only so that I can get more Estus Flasks and Happy Juice. So, the problem with coming back here, though, is that I wanted my souls. And my souls are currently guarded by enemies that are not so fresh. Now, if I'm careful, I won't even have to fight a single one. But most likely I'm at least end up fighting one of the dogs, if not the axe guy. Now, one thing to be aware of when triggering traps is that enemies can jump attack you. However, they also take fall damage because the most deadly enemy in all of Dark Souls, hands down, is gravity. There is no boss that is more difficult to conquer than gravity in this game, because fall damage is real. Sorry, I get quiet when I'm responding. I should probably just respond with my voice, especially because, you're there. You can hear me, even there is a little bit of delay. Now, that item out there I'm pretty sure is just more fire bombs. It's not really worth what I'm about to do for it. But when does that ever stop the Dark Souls player? Ooh, it's a Ring of Sacrifice. Those are actually somewhat useful, and somewhat not. And I'll explain why, and what I mean. The reason they're useful is because if you have souls on you, like, say, these 6,000 here, you were to put them on and get killed, you would retain those souls and wouldn't have to go get them. You would lose your ember, I'm pretty sure, but you would keep the souls themselves, which is useful in the simple sense that, you know, if you're really close to that level up, or you've got a lot of souls on you and you're really risking it for the biscuit going for more fighting, well, it can be profitable. Now, this part here. As you'll see, there are two of the enemies that I'm kind of terrified of right now because I am squishy and I have no armor. However, farming these guys is profitable, because if you get their armor, it's pretty decent armor. However, you do not, repeat, do not want to fight them 2-on-1. It's just not a good idea. Now, that said, neither of these guys, because they're mostly going to stand there with their shields like that. I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. I shouldn't have gone for that spear. Wasn't worth it. But this is the first boss room. The big scary red thing over there is an indicator, yeah. But just in case you didn't know. Yes, I am casual. Why, thank you. Now, what I like to do is lure one of them. I usually prefer to fight the sword guy first because I find him easier. His pattern's a little bit more doable. But the other thing to be aware of is that enemies this early in the game, especially these guys, have a ton of stamina, where you have not very much. Ow. And this guy in particular is just annoying. That's right, boy. I hit you with a fireball in your face hole. Yeah. Now, where's this guy at? Okay, he's all the way over there on this walk. So, there are a few ways to cheatly kill this enemy. Or those enemies, really. And one of them is to waste an ember. Well, whether you're actually wasting it or not's kind of beside the point, but you can summon this guy. Oh, I forgot an item. I should go get that real quick while he's summoning in. No, I don't need that, but, well, actually, do I need that? Is that better? No, that's exactly the same item I'm using. You can use him to fight that guy in there, those guys down there, whoever, really. Because as long as you don't go into the boss fight, I'm pretty sure you can just re-summon him. Whether that chat message is good or bad, I lack the ability to determine at this current point. But the other option, oh, this right here, this is actually a player. Anything that's gold like that is going to be a player. I'm actually going to bother summoning the player real quick here, because I'm going to use this Lion Knight and the player and no Estus and try and do something a little crazy. Since I don't have the dried finger just yet, I can't summon more than a certain amount of people, but what I can do is jump for joy because I now have an assist. Now, what I'm going to do right now is go kill this guy, because this boss is not hard, but since this is the one the player's wanting to fight against, I'll kill it first. The only part that's hard about this one is that I have no armor, and that I'm a little squishy. I'm just going to skip the cutscene and go straight into throwing on my Ring of Sacrifice, because I have a few souls and I don't feel like losing them right now. Alright, so pretty sure they're a modder, because they basically just, yeah, we're gonna go with they are probably modding. I don't think I've ever seen him die that quick. He isn't supposed to be that easy. He's easy, but not, like, that easy. I think I lost my viewer when I said I was a casual. Did I? I think so. Oh, cool. I'm also showing off my stacked bits of nothingness that is my computer. Oh, no, I didn't lose you. Yay, you're still here. My one and only. Now, but yeah, I am definitely an absolute filthy casual. I'm definitely going to do this. I want my Estus back for this part. Now comes the technically cheating part. In this part, you can sort of cheat to get to later game, because you're not supposed to be able to do this next fight. But if you have a high-level friend, or say somebody like that other player who just like one-shot my entire starting boss, basically, and you can summon them, then this part will not be so bad. Also, early game until you get a certain other thing. The other thing to have is a homeward bone. And I would actually switch them, because you definitely want to be able to access the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing that is the homeward bone. Next option here is then these guys have to die again. Now, I remembered, but as you'll see, no summon sign. The one downside to this next part here is that until you kill those guys and actually start the boss fight, which I'll show you here in a moment, you can't really get any assistance. Yeah! 2 for 1. I'll call that good. I'll call that good. What I just did was good. Dispute it, please. Because it wasn't. But, hey, oi, you. Do you just want to stand there? I mean, I'm okay with it if you are, but... Now, me standing there like that and doing that was probably really stupid and risky. It's not worth risking it for the biscuit. Also, wasting all my fire bombs was, yeah. Like I said, this guy's pattern, little more predictable. Damage is a little bit more unforgiving, though. There we go. Now that guy here, I didn't actually need to come up here and... Ooh, yes, please. Can't use it yet, though. Requires a little bit too much dex. But it can be a nice weapon to have around. As you'll see, it's a bit more defensible than my current weapon. It has a much higher durability than the Uchi Katana, I think. Yeah, by a lot. By a lot. Now, there are only one other weapon, that's starter weapon up to this point, that's stronger than the Uchi Katana. Because everything else is just a touch weaker. And it's this one. But the thing to be said is that I have a little bit to stack on there, so I get close. How does that one actually stack up? Well, that's not too bad, and I could actually wield that one properly if I two-hand it. Since there's no red X, it means it's properly wieldable, sort of. Now, I prefer the Uchi Katana because I find it just that littlest bit quicker, which in this game is much more endearing quality. Because I haven't found any better armor just yet. I'm wearing the Master's clothes, and I started as a deprived. But literally what I'm wearing is what I found. Now this guy here, massive dillweed. I don't like fighting him this early game. There's not really anything you gain from it, but you have everything to risk, especially since I have like 10k souls. And that's a lot right now. Like, for perspective, 10k souls would get me quite a few levels. I could stack on some pounds here. Now, the cheaty way to do this, and also the way that some people with a moral conscience might not want to do, is this part, but you can discover the dialogue on yourself. Okay, Way of the Blue, this early in the game, definitely throw that on. 100%. That way if an invader comes into your world, which they probably will have by this point, they can come in and defend you. And usually they're higher level players and whatnot, but you can kill her and sort of cheat, because you're not really supposed to get that item until later game when it's more appropriate, and you'll see why in a moment. I am going to watch this cutscene though, because it's kind of gross, and shows you that I just messed up. And partly why you don't want to come in here. While I'm not really sure if that's like acid or something, or if she's like falling out of a dimensional plane or something, I'm not 100% certain. But wherever she's coming from, even if it's just from the ceiling, is not a good place. And that booty dough. That sword dough, that sword hurts. Like, I'm just gonna, normally I would, teleport out of here, but I'm actually gonna try and give you a perspective on how strong this boss is and how early I am in the game. Like, one-shotting me, entirely possible to do this. I've seen people do no-hit runs using nothing but their fists. It's possible. I'm just not that good. And right now I have like no weapons to be able to do so. Even on my stacked character, which I have built up pretty decently well, is not that good. And you see, the Ring of Sacrifice saves my souls, so I don't have to go back there. I lose my Ember, but that's not that big a deal. So real quick, since we have all those souls, we're going to go back to Firelink Shrine. Because if we don't, and we don't use those souls, we no longer have a Ring of Sacrifice to protect them. So we gotta go do that. Now, the guy I was watching earlier, Grainolf, fun streamer, watch him definitely. Just not right now because he's not streaming. But he had angered this guy at some point in his playthrough because he was only level 9 and this guy was here spanking on him all day. Because he couldn't continue playing because he just couldn't beat him at the time. Because he was like brand new early game like me, although he started with a knight that has mildly better stats, and then some. Now, one thing that we can improve is our stamina, but I'm definitely going to stack a little bit more on here so I can get a little pinch more damage and so forth. Now, I could have gone and grabbed that. No, I am currently on PC. I do use a controller, though, because I'm, again, a casual. But, now, as far as going and killing things, the undead bone shards, which you will get. I don't have any right now. They make this bonfire stronger and more refreshing. Definitely come back here and burn them here. It's 100% worth it. Oh, that's the other thing I should do before I teleport back there. Who, the Firekeeper? Yeah. She's the best looking person in Dark Souls as far as I can find. Well, mostly the Firekeepers are. Henri's not bad though, but she bald. Reinforce. Yes, please. Reinforce. Okay, I only have that one. Let me get rid of that one because it just doesn't have a use right now. Now, the other thing I can do here is I can reinforce my weapon using Titanite some souls. That's going to make my weapon just a little stronger. See, it's like 126 now. That's still 129. But this comes up pretty decently early game. Now, this lady will sell you things. Point blank. She sells all the things, like I've said. This thing is good if you're using a parry build because it's got one of the highest criticals in the game. The torch is necessary, so we're going to buy that. And a couple of arrows, just because we can. Because why not use the souls while we have them? That old lady, creepy though. Like real, some suspect stuff going on in there. Now, one of the things I will say is that the sooner you can go up onto the roof of this place, the better. So, what I'm going to do while I'm here again is take off all of this, because it's weighing me down. And get rid of the fire bombs because I don't have any more, and that one because I'm not using it. And we don't want unuseful stuff. It takes up space. Now, when you're summoned, you don't really have a chance of dropping these seeds, but I'm still going to check that since I'm just going to be right here anyway. Because I haven't been invaded yet, so it's not a shock that there isn't one. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and cheat again. I'm going to try and make this jump happen. Now, again, I'm not really the most fabulous, yes, at it. Earlier I messed up a lot. That time I got lucky. And yes, I got lucky. I did not just make that out of skill. That was 110% luck. I'm just not that good for that to have happened without luck. Now, you can sell things to... Ooh. Where are those? I didn't really pick those up yet. There, I have a little bit more armor now. Do I still freaking roll? Yeah, I do. I'm getting close to my weight cap, though. So, you're going to be very, very careful in here, especially because we're glitched in and we can't get back easily. So, what you can do is cheat and drop items here to get certain things. Now, the list for which is long, the Estus shard for which is useful. But I'm not going to mess with that right now because I have a nasty habit of hitting the B button while I'm up here and accidentally knocking myself off the ledge. And that's a bad thing to do. So, what I'm going to do is see that chest down there. We're going to go get that chest. And the reason we're going to grab this chest is because this item is the one thing you're never going to take off. Probably. And Where's that text message? Come back here. Now I'm back in here. Alright, so that Silver Serpent Ring, the reason to grab that is this fallen foes yield more souls. Point blank, it's necessary, you want it. Especially this early game, the sooner you can get up there and get it, the better. I recommend the moment you get to Firelink, you spend an hour, if necessary, up there trying to make the jump that I just made. Because once you've made it, you get that thing. And once you have that thing, you get more souls. Now, if you talk to this guy, he'll give you some lines and some stuff. Every now and then, talk to him again when you get back here to keep his quest line moving. And eventually he'll start giving you other stuff. Not all of it useful, but far from useless. Now, if you get back up there, you can drop the certain items to Pickle Pea and Pumperump. But the exact list of items is something that I don't remember off the top of my head. And right now, as you can see, I don't exactly have a lot. I have some. But I don't know that any of it's going to give me anything useful right now. So I'm going to quickly go back to not here, but here. Because I do not have what I need to kill the Dancer right now, despite how good the souls would be. Besides, it's better to wait until you have at least the items needed. We're also going to cheatily get certain items. We're going to like cheat to farm a little bit. Some of them. One of them, especially, because it gives you more souls, although it comes at the cost of draining your health. Those of you that are seasoned players of Dark Souls 3 know exactly what I'm talking about before the rest of them do. And that item is the Helmet of Avarice, I believe it's called. I just call it the chest head. But what it does is essentially you put an in-game enemy on your head, and because this is Dark Souls, that is a great idea. And the reason that that is a great idea is because it gains you more souls, and more souls means more money. More money means more levels means that things like this guy die easier. Now, as we saw earlier, this dude is gonna hurt. If we're smart about it, and I don't run in like I did earlier, we'll be fine. Now, we get a couple of good little things. The Mail Breaker, which has a decent critical rate on it. Not fantastic, but not horrible. Not really a good weapon otherwise. And this. Here is one of the most useful NPCs in the game. Because if you think the old woman merchant's good, this guy's better. Because the only way the old woman merchant gets you more stuff is purely if you find people's dead ashes and give them to her, and then she can sell you what they would have been able to give you, or sell you, or both. And that becomes useful because, you know, stuff is good. Because in this game, stuff is life. This gate you can get through later. Right now, it's locked. There's no way through. It's part of an NPC quest line, which, while useful, if you're a douchebag, is not the most useful for your average player, because all it really gains you is invasion items. And an invasion item that you can use to invade people as much as you want, because it's unlimited and does not consume. I do think it should cost an ember to use it to invade people, but that's only because people invading people is just dickish. Now, I try and sell like duplicate items or stuff I'm not using early game, but later in the game, it's realistically not really worth it. You don't make much off of it. Sure, you find a lot of these items per playthrough. Some of them are useful, some of them aren't, but it's better to hold on to them because, you know, stuff is life in this game, and you never know when you might want to change your armor set, so it's always good to at least have one copy of everything that you find, if not a couple, because certain things you want as many as possible of, just in case. Now, the only characters to make it into literally every single Dark Souls game are these guys. They've been in all 3 Dark Souls games, as far as I'm aware. Why exactly? I'm sure there's plenty of lore behind. What they are exactly, I'm sure there's lore behind. Do I know it? No. But they're not enemies, and they are literally, in all 3 Dark Souls games, just there to give you a lift. I don't know if they're in Demon Souls as well. I don't know if they're in Bloodborne or any of the compatriot games. I just know that they're in Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3. Because I have never played Demon Souls, actually, yet. I want to, but it's on a system I don't currently own. So that's a down the line kind of deal. Eventually, when I have some more money, I shall buy the system and I shall play the games. Now, this part's a little terrifying this early in the game because you have to fight 3 of those dogs. And the only reason they're terrifying is because they're agile and they can avoid your attacks really freaking well. Now, the fun part, though, is if you come step up here, you can watch them tear apart all these weak, useless enemies that are not really a threat to you anyway, but, you know, why not watch them tear enemies apart? Case in point for them dodging your attacks.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Sorry, somebody was asking for the name I use on YouTube so that they can find me easier. Now, yeah, go get some. See, they killed all these guys, and that guy closed the gate because he's afraid of his own dogs. Notice how he's not coming out here to help them, because he knows. He knows that if he does, they will eat him. Because he's the one that trained them to eat people. And he knows that they're hungry. Now these two, if you go around the right side of the wagon, will not be fun, because they're going to dodge out, and they're going to grab you, and they're going to try and get you. Now, most people aren't going to come over this way, because it just looks like there's a bunch of dusty old corpses. But, if you'll notice, that one over there is moving. And sobbing.
Grant me death.
And begging for death.
Undo my shackles. Oh, then it's true. A champion of Ash as I live and breathe.
This is Yol,
Be in your presence
the
is
local
a
drug
great
dealer.
honor. I am Yol of Londor, a pilgrim, as you can see, only somehow I failed to die as was ordained. Well, perhaps my calling lies elsewhere. Say, champion of Ash, How does the idea of taking me into
Why
your
he
service
carries that thing on his
strike
back,
you?
I don't know. Why he's
Suppose
chained to
once
it,
a
I don't know.
sorcerer,
I don't know the lore
surely I
behind
can
that.
be
I'm
of
sure it
use.
exists. Now,
Oh, I should be dead. Yet
I always accept his service because the local drug dealer, yeah, he's a drug dealer. Yeah, he's not the greatest person in the game, but he also gives you free levels, which is rather well explained in the animated short called DarkSouls, D-O-R-K Souls. It's a parody, but it's hilarious. Definitely also something to watch at some point, if you haven't yet. Fair warning, the guy who makes them did not and still doesn't necessarily speak the best English, so if that kind of thing annoys you, probably not your cup of tea. But personally, I find him hilarious, and I find the skits to be rather amazing. So I watch them quite a bit. Because they're funny, and they're relatable, and once you understand Dark Souls, you understand that guy's animated shorts. Because everything he says is quintessentially true Dark Souls. It's not really, it's like Dark Souls unfiltered. It's how you feel the game is actually behaving. Whether that's actually the truth or not remains to be seen. Now, all these corpses that are hanging everywhere, and that's what those are bodies. People were killed and tied up and hung up for some reason unknown. Again, probably part of the lore. There is a lot of in-game lore. Then there's these things. Some of them are living. Some of them are not. That one over there I think is living currently. Now, grabbing that's going to get that guy to jump down. And we can kill him. Is this one alive? No. But there are ones down there in that room that are. So, this bone right here on this body that we can't really get right now. We have to get it in a moment. When we go down there, because you can't grab it off the thing while it's hanging there. Why they made it that way, well, who can say? But we'll get that in a moment. Definitely something worth getting, though. Because you need it for Grey Rat. To become his full Grey Ratty self. Now, there's a few of these guys in this room. They're annoying. And they can really mess you up if you're not careful. Ow. Oh, you. Yeah, that was kind of worth wasting an Estus on. You're going to see why in a moment. Yeah, all of that right there is why I waste the Estus. Because in a moment, it won't be a... Wait a minute, is there a... There's a ledge there. There's nothing up there, though, I don't think. There's a couple of bodies hanging around that have some items on them. Mostly not all that useful. But the one here, Loretta's Bone, is quite useful. Now, one thing I am going to do is do that to eliminate a few of the enemies at once, because those explosive barrels are your friends. Do use them. Because explosive barrels means less direct fighting done by you. Now, the big fat one. The big fat one, we don't want to anger right now. But we don't have a choice. Because we have to get past here, and the big fat one is the only one we can do. Do not get grabbed by that. It will kill you. Yes, she just smacks you in the head with a book. Accept it. Damn. So close. If I hadn't gotten greedy and run out of stamina, I'd had her. But such is Dark Souls. You will die. In this game, it is simply not something one can avoid. You're gonna get killed. It's gonna happen. Accept it. I will say, though, that there are experienced players out there who have, and still continue to do, no-hit runs, where they don't so much as take a single hit, or they start their run over. These people are known as masochists and sadists. Usually, those two names would inquire that they would take a lot of punishment. And you would think that would be directly associated with taking hits by enemies in this game, but oh no, wait, there's more. It's far more punishing to play this game without taking hits than it is with taking hits, and having to start over from square one the moment you take a hit is abhorrent. The other thing here is that there is one fellow who I think deserves a medal and some form of reward for the accomplishment of it. Did a complete 1, 2, and 3 run from the start of 1 to the end of 3, like just straight at it. And did an entire run through all 3 games after multiple tries without taking a single death. I don't remember if it was a full-blown no-hit run. If it was, he deserves a medal even more. But it was definitely a no-death run. Because if he died, he had to start at the beginning of Dark Souls 1. He didn't even get the benefit of being able to, continue in the same game. No. He had to go back to the very beginning of the very first game and start a whole new character each time. Wasn't allowed to just do another playthrough. Whole new character. Every time. Starting out with nothing, that spell will end you. Like, legit, that spell will just end you. Like that. It will end you like that. Okay. Now, I may have to run past here, because if I don't, I'm going to be here all day fighting this lady. So, what I'm going to do is completely flabbergast my way past all of the enemies, except these two. Because they are directly in the way and not exactly easy to sidestep. This next part, however, is just painful. There's no way to make this not hurt. Now, I have 2 K-Souls over there. Is it worth going to get? No. It's not even a level. Maybe 1 level at most. Easy to get back. Not souls I'm concerned with losing. Now, there's 2 ways to go. One way you can go around all of that. The other way you can go completely away from all of that. Now, there's benefits to both. But the one thing that I do need to get is right in front of her. So what I'm going to do is book it in and book it out. And try grabbing my souls while I'm at it, because why not? So now it's definitely 1 level, but that Estus shard was well worth the death. 110% worth, because more Estus is the more better. There's a number of Estus. I think you can have up to 15 Estus at once. Or, yeah, 15 I'm pretty sure it is. Something like that. In the first game you could have like 21? You could have a ton. You could just have an absolute ton in the first one. Pretty sure it was the first one. But where did my souls go? Oh my. Well, that's gettable, actually. Now, the scary part about this is going to be actually getting them. Because that weapon's got reach. And that spell she just cast has reach. And these guys have reach. And the guys that are behind me have reach. Oh, good. They're not following. You have no idea how relieving that actually is. Now, there's several enemies in here. The only one of which I'm really worried about is not these guys. Because the one I'm really worried about drops down just up there. And the only reason I'm worried about him is that because even late game, his damage level is redonkulous. Plus the amount of bleed damage. And you see what happened there when I got stamina busted? Not a good plan. And you can see how bad his damage is even early game. Late game, he's ridiculous. He can like one-shot you. And by late game, I mean like playthrough 6. Playthrough 6 is rough. The more playthroughs you do on a character, the worse things get. Because the enemies will just grow stronger every single playthrough. And there's no way around that. It's just going to happen. They're going to get stronger, and you got to deal with it. Because there is nothing to do about it. Now, right here, those guys up there throw firebombs. They're kind of worth going up there past because of what you get up there in that cage. Now, the only thing that's not really worth doing is taking the firebombs initially. It is worth, however, killing that guy. Like I said, they throw firebombs and they're pretty accurate. And once it hits one of the oil barrels up there, forget it. Everything explodes. But coming down here first is definitely the smarter way to go about this. Because it gets you the bonfire. Now, all that said, what happens next is punish. Punish, punish, punish. All the punish. Because what you're going to have to do here is waste an arrow, because item. And that item is going to fall in front of an enemy. And that enemy is an ass. Now, you can get the hand axe, and later in the game there will actually be more items that spawn on this guy relating to this fellow.
Aha, unkindled, are we? Welcome to my...
Who is also somebody you definitely want. You want to free him. You want to do it very badly. Because he gives you fire magic. Fire magic is just lordly in this game. Now that we've killed those enemies and they've blown up those enemies and so forth, there leaves that guy. Now, that guy is problematic. There's not really a good way to fight him. Do I have an alluring? Yes, I do. Because, see that thing on his back? What that means is that he can't be backstabbed. So, you basically just have to fight him straight up. There's not really a better way to do it. Because there is no better way to do it. There just is no other way to do it. You have to fight him. Now, these guys usually and always are one-shots. I don't think there's ever a point in the game where they should not be a one-shot, because honestly, they're just trash. Then there's a few items here to grab. There's that one, and then there's this one out here. Most people make this mistake of just grabbing the item like so, and then forgetting this guy's here, or stepping out in front of him, and then he wakes up and pushes you off of the thing like this into the chasm of disintegration where he just disappears. Now, you don't want to go back that way. No point. Just came from that way. What you do want to do is go down here, and I just always check every corner, just in case an invader has slipped into my world without me noticing. Although, trust me, you'd notice. But sometimes if you're not paying attention or looking at the screen when it happens, or you don't have your volume on, you won't realize. It does happen. Anybody who says it doesn't is lying. Because it does. Now, guys like these guys, early game, they're not very difficult enemies to kill, but they can surprise you. And surprise enemies is not good. Now, that said, there's a group of enemies directly below me. The reason I'm not just going down there right now is that group of enemies should be patrolling here. Might already be over there on the stairs or something. But there's a group of enemies, usually associated with this puppy dog, who is not your friend. His excited running is to eat you, not to, sit at your feet and be your friend. That guy over there leads the group. And there's another enemy. Her. She, or it rather, is called an evangelist. We've seen what they can do. We've seen they're scary. We see they hurt. Now, those guys over there, they don't hurt so much. They're just annoying. Although that hammer is not fun to be on the receiving end of. So what we're going to do, in order to try and not fight all of them at once, is take the dog first. Then we're going to get this guy angry. Which gets this guy angry. Which, that guy will get angry if we go up there. But since we can't open that door from this side, because we're skipping a step, there's no point in that. But the reason I'm skipping a step is because it makes the step easier. Because you're sidestepping a whole bunch of enemies that early game hurt. Like, hurts donut hurt. There's just the kind of bullying hurt that you don't need in your day. Now these guys, while they're weak, 3-on-1 can stun lock you. They almost did it to me there a moment ago. The Cestus, arguably a useless weapon. Now this fog hides a few things. One, it hides a couple of little rats, and the other, it hides the big rat. None of which are all that deadly. But for a surprised adventurer, can be fatal. Now, this key you can buy from the lady back at Firelink. Or from Grey Rat. One of the two, I don't remember which. But the reason to go all that way and come all this way is to A, get all these rings, because we're going to need them. I'm going to increase your bleed resistance, definitely. Now, since we don't have any fire attack chance, that's not going to be a useful ring. What's going to be very useful, though, is this bonfire. And you're going to want to rest at that immediately. Because what you're going to have to fight next is something you're not going to want to fight. Or Oh yeah, I'm not embered, so he's not going to spawn in right now. Yay, good. There is an NPC invader here. That's what I was worried about. But he doesn't summon in because I'm not embered. So, another thing with the embering is, while yes, it can garner you some souls by defeating the invaders, or the NPC invaders in this case, but sometimes they're a hindrance. However, one of the reasons that I am so glad that I came this way is because I get to go backwards through all of this, seeing a lot of the Trixies coming. Now that guy, you don't want to fight right now. He's gonna hurt. These guys you don't really want to fight either, but you'll see in a moment that it's more of a usefulness than a hindrance. However, there is the one enemy that it's not going to be fun to fight. There's no way around getting around that one. It's just not going to be fun. And yes, that was almost worth dying for. Because this enemy is going to hinder you from doing basically all the things. In this area, because they're going to constantly cast that spell at you. Do I remember what's at that particular body? No. Is it probably worth it? Maybe. If its creepy laughing wasn't enough, and the weapon that it wields wasn't enough, they had to give it a lot of health too. So it's costly to fight. Now, there's a lot of little ones in here too. But with that one dead, they're much, much, much easier to deal with one-on-one. Next, there's several secret passageways. One of them is this, that you can grab some extra stuff on around here. And these rusted coins will come in handy later, but we'll show you that when we come to it. Am I able to... Welcome back. Alright, so we still haven't really gotten anything better on armor. I mean, we've gotten a couple of things here and there, but realistically, we're not looking at better armor here. We're certainly looking at uglier armor, though. 100% we're looking at uglier armor. Now, can you rest and get back one Estus? Yes. Is it worth it? No. Because then that thing upstairs is going to respawn, and then you have to deal with that. And we don't want to fight that thing again. So first we're going to go over here and take out some of these enemies around here. And the boxes and random things, because there's all sorts of things in this area. Every time I come through here, I'm still convinced that there's probably items that I have not seen yet, because it's just such a weird little windy area. Next thing is down here for item. You're risking these edges, though. You don't want to be near those, because one little, fart and you're off the edge. So you see, right there, it shows why having this physical shield is useful. Because 100% physical reduction on these early game enemies is God mode. Now, that item, I don't remember if it's useful or not. I think it's a bone shard, which actually makes your Estus work better. And you're going to want to use the bone shards at Firelink. Not that you really have a shot at anything else, but, definitely going to want to do that. Now, I don't have any more arrows. So what's about to happen is going to be painful if I go back up there and try and fight that thing. So I'm not going to do that just this second. I am going to, however, show you what the white branch gets you. What the white branch gets you is you see all these arrows? You see all these dead enemies that ain't coming back because they're literally pinned in place, and they know that if they get up and try and do a hurt, that's going to happen. Because that arrow flinging thing is way up there on that tower. See the thing moving? He's a giant, literally. And he's flinging those arrows. Now, before you get a big head and you're like, oh, I can definitely fling arrows that far. No, you can't. And if you try, they aren't going to do what it's doing for him. Now, right there is deceptive, because it looks like it's foolproof, and it looks like you're not falling off, but you can. I've seen people do it. I've done it. It's easy enough to do if you screw up. Now, these young white branches, you don't want to always pick them all up. And the secret to that, spoiler alert, is that if you pick them all up, and you find all the other trees and pick all of them up from around the other trees as well, the giant himself dies. No one is quite sure why the giant dies, but the giant does die when that happens. So at that point he becomes useless to you, because you can't use him anymore to kill these enemies or to fight your battles for you. Now, the Mortician's Ashes, not really sure they're useful to come over here and get. I don't really remember what they get you. I don't think it's a lot, but definitely something to at least consider, because, you know, something's better than nothing. Now, there was plenty to grab here, so I grab all that first. Now, the next thing here. Oh, wait a minute, I've never noticed that gap in the fence before. Does that gain me anything? It gains me this area up here. Is there anything over here that's useful in any way? Other than a vantage point? Not really. I mean, it gives you a very slight vantage point, but nothing else is gained by this area. I don't know why they even designed it in. I suppose it's an area to shoot enemies from long distance with a bow. But I'm not seeing anything useful, not even hanging from trees. So I had just never noticed that area before myself, so figured I'd take a look. Now, right here, see that thing in there? Yeah. It's not alone. It's got like 2 friends. So we're going to want to take a quick moment here just to wake it up and run away. Unless it's frozen. Since it didn't immediately attack us, we'll just kill it. Was going to lure it outside and make the full effect of the giant, but, you know, not always worth it. Now, over here, we have ourselves a scythe. So, for those of you wanting to cosplay in the game as a Grim Reaper, there you go. Although, I will say there are cooler looking ones available later in the game. Especially the DLC. Hint, hint. Go buy it. But now you're faced with 2 options. Option 1, you go in here and you fight that thing. Not the hardest boss in the world. But first you should do is open this. Because secret passages, being what they are, they're useful. Now, this opens this way, but that enemy that was out here, you'll notice, is not here anymore, because he's down there patrolling with the other ones. They now patrol the area since the door has been opened. So what I'm going to do, since I have 4 flasks and no real souls to risk losing here, because even if I get killed, they're not exactly plentiful amounts, is I can run in here and fight this guy. Now, these guys are annoying, to be sure, but not really much point in killing them all. You can, but realistically, there's just not much point. Those giant fleshy bulbs are his attack points, where you have to attack him. And he can kill all of them for you, except for this guy who magically survived. Now, once you burst one of his bubbles, he does that. And what that does is the oh no moment. Except that for here, for some reason, gravity is no longer your enemy and does nothing to you. Now, that hand that just sprouted is also a weak point. But, and jokes aside, while it's a weak point, it's also able to do damage to you. So what you're going to want to do is go and find any excuse you can not to fight him there. And when he does the butt slam for that, well, by coming down here, you also cause this guy to die. He is an NPC. There is a way to get down here to talk to him, but not really necessarily all that important nor worth it. Now, how that did anything to me, I don't know. It didn't. Just knocked me over. But he can grab you. And if he grabs you, pain. And pain means dead in Dark Souls. So that stuff will hurt you if you get close. Now, that said, you really do have to get close, because he does require you to actually get in there and fight him. Now, when you've spotted all of his spots and you knock them all down, what he does is he grows more after throwing a tantrum. And then he kills you. Because I didn't realize that was the attack he was doing, so I didn't roll. So, that happened. Now, the reason... There's two ways you can go about it. The easiest way I find to get to him is actually just to head that way. It's a little longer, but ultimately there's less dangerous enemies. So, what I'm going to do is do that. Now, you'd think, oh, well, the floor was smashed, right? That's totally going to still be there, but no, it's not. So the floor respawns, and you have to do the whole thing again. Start to finish. Now, that does happen occasionally. The best thing I can recommend in this situation is take advantage of it. When Dark Souls hands you a boss type style enemy that can jump off you, smack you in the face. Use it against it. And the reason to use the Uchi Katana this early is because, honestly, it's just fast. And killing enemies fast means you don't necessarily have to fight them in their full potential of destructiveness, or in your weakest state. And your weakest state being at low health with no Estus, because there's no way to fix your state at that point. You're just stuck with it. Now, that one there that's grayish is actually still living. There is a secret we're going to go up there and get in a minute, but not at this current second. First, we're going to come out here, go back here, and get this item. It's only a small soul, but every small soul counts. Because every small soul is one soul further towards victory. So they say. Well, not really. So I say, but... what this building's room's useful for, I don't know. There's not always something useful in a room. There's also not always an enemy, so... take it for what it is, being that it's just empty and useless. Next thing we do here is those enemies are not fun to fight. You don't want to get in close. You want to just do what you can to taper them down, because when you get in close they thrash about and what's happening there with the sudden buildup of damage is that he's building up what's called bleed. Once the bleed builds up, it can do a lot of damage really quick. Because it does a literal massive chunk out of their health all at once. It's like a massive rush of blood loss. It can be your friend, and it can be your enemy. Just depends if it's being used against you or not. Now, up here, if I remember correctly, there's several enemies. But I could be remembering wrong. You can also chop all these bodies down. I find them annoying. They just kind of hang there and do nothing. Wasted assets by the game designers to make the room creepier. Oh well. Now, this door you can open from either side, which takes you out here. Another spot, but we'll get to that in a minute. First things first, we want to go down this hole. And the only reason we come down here is for the Warrior of Sunlight Covenant. Also, Estus Soup is a free health item. Whenever you find it, it's only a one-time use though, it does not respawn. So, bear that in mind. Now, out here, looks like it's kind of familiar, doesn't it? Huh. Just some, seemingly terrifying enemies that you might recognize from earlier. Maybe. Now, the other side of that is that there are several items out here that are of use. The only item that's hanging in that tree, though, is a couple of things that are throwing knives. The dangerous ones, they're called kukri, but they're heavy, they're slow to throw, which both of those combined makes it relatively pointless. Another thing you can do earlier if you don't want to go the back way is come in here and kill those two guys before they jump down on your head. Or take a quick shortcut back. Now, next on the list here, since I finally had enough of that boss, is come back here, and you can go right over this rooftop back to your bonfire. Now, you can jump down the whole way and live, I believe, but I don't like to test falls in this game because gravity hurts. Hurts a lot. Hurts, don't it? Mm-hmm. Now, talking to that guy does get you a covenant, the one that got smushed by the tree. However, that's only if you leave that boss for later. If you do what most people do and just kill that boss outright early in the game, once you've got that covenant, then it becomes what it is, and that means that later game, once you've gotten all these covenants already, they're not really useful. Now, the Sunbro Covenant, while fun, and while it makes you glow orange, which is pretty, it's also kind of pointless this early game. Because unless you're getting summoned a lot, you're not really going to make sunlight metals, and sunlight metals are the currency for that covenant, and covenant currency is another thing we'll cover later. Because, well, screw it, I'll cover it now because I mentioned it. The covenant currencies are things you earn for being a part of that covenant, or you can find them as loot items, or you can farm them off of enemies. Now, what they're for, on the other hand, is actually for purchasing certain upgrades. Each covenant has an upgrade that you get for every 10 souls. Or is it the first one's 10 and the second one's 20? I don't remember which one it is of the two, but it's one of the two. Then you get the 2 rewards, or 3 rewards, whatever it is, out of the covenant for turning in 30 of those items total in one playthrough, because if your amount does not carry over per playthrough, you have to do it all in one playthrough for that same covenant. That said, while you have to do that covenant itself in one playthrough, you do not have to do all of the covenants in one playthrough. You can do a covenant a playthrough, or split it up however you like if you choose to split it up. Not all people do. Up to you. Now, another thing to be aware of with this boss is he's hilariously weak against fire. Like, massively. And, I mean, it's ironic considering he's, a tree. But, yeah, of course he's weak to fire. But you'd think some people would notice that faster, but they don't. It's actually something I've seen a lot of people actually not even know at all. They're like, he's weak to fire. I'm like, yeah. I thought that was too obvious. Nope. Perfectly obvious. And it's actually a thing. Now, he can do that butt slam numerous times. Up here... Ow. I just used too much Estus. This fight's not going to end well. Okay, now he should drop down to the lower level. Unfortunately, once you've triggered this boss fight once, the dude over there is already toast. There's no way to save him. Once you've triggered the boss fight, he toast. He gone, he done. That's over. One thing you... Oh, I forgot he can do that. Is that you can, on the other hand, use fire on this guy. Which sort of redeems you for having allowed that guy to die. Not really, but it at least makes you feel better, because you're doing massive damage. Now these fire bundles are quick to use, but their damage is increased. Now, the only downside to them is, in fact, that while they're quick to use, they're also quick to run out. Now, this guy, once you get used to his attack pattern, becomes somewhat predictable. Somewhat, I say, because while certain things are predictable, certain things are not, like that. The hitbox for that is enormous. So, once you've had enough punishment of dealing with that guy, which currently I have had, you can always try dealing with more interesting enemies. For one, you can Ember up. And get invaded by our Mad Knight. This guy. Now, the one thing to be aware of with this guy is he's kinda douchey. He's strong, his weapon's ridiculous. He's not a forgiving enemy to fight. That said, the purple spirits, which you can also become a covenant of, that's the one that I cheated myself out of by killing that one guy early, which this guy is a part of, are a fun covenant to be a part of, actually, because it lets you help and hurt the host at one time, rather than only one or the other, like other covenants. However, that comes at a cost. You can't go into boss fights with the host anymore. You used to be able to, but then people were abusing it. Personally, I think it would have been simpler to just code it so that once you're in a boss room with them as a mad spirit, you just can't hurt them. But that's not what the creators went with, so... Oh, yeah, we're dead. And we wasted an ember. So, like I said, not a forgiving enemy to fight this early. So, I'm not gonna. Just yet. The first thing I'm going to do is grab this, even though it's pointless because I don't have any souls on it. But it'll annoy me knowing it's there. And the second thing is rest real quick just to be safe. Now, those pine bundles are amazing. They're strong. But like I said, they're not real plentiful at first. Later in the game, though, they become a little bit more viable of a usage. Because while, yeah, they're strong, like I said, they don't last very long. But they are quick to use. And one of the earliest ways to get fire attacks in the game. The next best way is to go back to Firelink Shrine right after you get the one guy and buy a pyromancy flame and a pyromancy and get some magic stats going and make use of them. Now, this part here is a D-bag. Because there's a lot of those guys over there. And those guys hurt. And they can throw those pots. And once they throw the pot, they pull out a machete. And then they come after you. Case in point, here comes Machete Guy. Major dill hole. However, several ways to cheat them. One of them is this spot, because even if you roll off the edge, it's not going to hurt you that much. If at all. So, using their size against them is strategy one. They will occasionally glitch through the door like that, though. Although us getting that machete is not a very common thing, it is a very nice thing. Their bodies also disappear, which makes their loot rather easy to spot. Now, the good thing about that machete is its stats. The bad thing about that melee weapon is that it's so heavy, and that it takes a lot of strength to use. Now, there are weapons that are pretty good to have that take a lot of strength. That weapon being one of them. But things to be aware of here are that while they're good to have and they use a lot of strength, that they're more viable late game. Trading with that guy for a couple blows was not necessarily worth it. Don't kid yourself. Now, these guys And there are two of them, so I do say guys plural. At least I'm pretty sure there's two. Oh yeah, another thing, if you let the dogs hit the shield, they bounce back and stun a moment, which gives you a second to hit them. It's the primary way to fight them if you don't like swinging after wildly jumping enemies. Now, those two things taken care of. There is a way to get above us, but that's another story. Another thing is that if you jump down here, you can sort of sidestep having to come back here later. Because in here, that lady back there, which you can't get to because of this gate that you have to go around by going down, either through the openable gate back there or by jumping down here and cheating. And if you survive, you can cheat, but you can get up there where that body is. There's something on that body as well as a secret passageway. I don't currently actively remember in my brain how oh, never mind, now I do. But, I'll show you that in a minute, because it's kind of a pain to do. But we already did part of it. Now, this guy right here is a living legend whose face I shall not show you just yet. He bears all of the introduction because he is my favorite character in all of Dark Souls. He is the one, the only, Sigurd of Katarina, also known by me and many other people as Onion Bro.
Oh, pardon me, I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegwart of Katarina. To be honest, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Have you ever walked near a white birch only to be struck by a great arrow? Well, if I'm not mistaken, they come from this tower. Whoever it is, I'm sure I can talk some sense into them. But I have to find a way up, and that's just the trouble. This lift only goes down, you see, and... well, that doesn't get me anywhere. This lift only goes to... with a little warming... I've got to... This lift with...
You don't really have to talk to him here, I just choose to. Now, I'm going to show you a cheat. Another cheap way of killing this specific enemy. First, you have to come down here and then send the lift back up. A, that helps Sigurd, and 2, it opens up the way to get this enemy and cheat it. The thing I recommend doing is holding your shield up entirely. What this guy does is frost damage, and frost damage is a pain in the ass. In every sense of the word. Yes, even that one. Now, this guy is about as much of a pain as the damage he causes. Because frost damage is like bleed damage in the sense that it will build up a meter like this. And when it builds that meter up, you take a massive chunk of damage. Now what you want to do is get him to follow you up the stairs. Quickly or slowly, that's up to you, because he will slow walk after you. Then he drops down there and dies. All you have to do is get up here before he follows you up here quickly, and get behind this lift while he's still on the stairs. And then stand reasonably close to the edge, because then he'll jump at the chance to hit you, screw up, and go into the hole. Because he's a bad boy. A bad boy. He gives you the Erythal Rapier, one of the few weapons in the game capable of doing frost damage. This weapon is both a help and a hindrance, because while it is a nice weapon, and it is rather strong against most enemies, especially with the frost buildup, including players themselves, it's also kind of a nuisance. I always come out here and rest first. Now, before we carry on this solo area right here, because up until the church here, there have mostly been only group areas, but this area is a solo area. So you can't have a friend down here with you, sorry. Blame the creators. Next. My throat's real dry. It's like 2 in the morning. I should probably go to bed soon, but we can get a little further before that. I want to do at least Sigurd's story, because I will forget if I don't. What you do is you go back up the elevator after pulling the lever, and you'll notice somebody's missing. Now what you want to do is step on and roll off, or just run off as fast as you can before you go down the hole, and then you wait. Because if you wait long enough, you're rewarded with another lift that goes up. Why they designed this way and made it harder on themselves, I know not. But if you don't have that white branch, say you wanted to choose a different starting item, you would just come up here all the way instead of rolling off there. Grab that item, because I always come up here and get that anyway. And then you would talk to our friend Mr. Giant here. Previous Dark Souls players may recognize this bow as the legend that it is. And the rest of you will recognize this fellow for what he is, which is a giant. Now, aside from him, there are no other items up here. Not currently. Once he's dead, whether you kill him, or whether you find all the birches and for whatever reason that kills him, oh and look, he's genderless, he will remain up here the rest of the game. That thing down there, which should be within his range, but for whatever strange reason he chooses not to shoot, is the enemy we're going to go fight with our onion-themed friend, who is directly below us, a ways. So, let's go not keep him waiting anymore. Let's go do that. And that may be the last I'll live stream for tonight. But I'm at least doing that far. And you want to roll off or just step off onto this ledge once you get close. And you come out here. Yay! Free secret area, but not really. Then you talk to him. Or not. Again, you're not required to talk to him right this second.
Disappear like that, you had me downright worried. But thanks to you, an epiphany has struck me square in the head. I've unraveled the riddle of this inscrutable lift.
Rather an attractive fellow. Somebody I'm rather fond of.
I went up the tower, so I thought, then somehow ended up here. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Anyhow, do you see that? That humongous beast? I'm no coward and I've a steady hand, but that thing makes my skin crawl. Now, think twice before you go down that road. I could try talking. No, I think I've got to. I could try talking some sense into it.
Now, this part's where it gets tricky. Because for Onion Sama here's story, you need to kill that thing, and he needs to survive the fight. But the caveat there is that he is going to rush headlong in after you. So the moment you initiate the fight with this creature, Onion Bro's committed. He's in, he's with you, he's gonna charge. So what I would recommend doing is just checking to make sure you're wearing the best armor you have, whatever that is. Because this fight's gonna hurt, it's not gonna be pleasant. Alright, so this gets you a little bit better in the magic and lightning, not in the fire though. So you want to have the best physical and fire damage resistance you can, at the very least. This isn't the best armor, but it'll do. Now, obviously, fire is being, part of this guy's being, not his weakness. You can, however, use lightning. I believe it does a little bit more damage to him. Or any other resins you may have bought or found. Maybe I missed a couple. Possible. Now, as soon as you land here,
No!
you hear that dialogue option. Apply it.
It's too
Like I
late
said, it takes a
now.
moment to apply it. And
I,
run.
Sigurd of the Knights of Katarina, fight by your side. Ah!
Now, early game, this guy is punishing. And Sigurd will just go in. Now, the good thing is that the enemy below hand does not respawn. The silver guy in here with the sword does not come back. So he's gone. Don't gotta worry about him. Not a problem. After he falls down the elevator shaft, he's gone for good. He's not in respawner. Now, another thing to be aware of is that Dark Souls has a lot of armor clipping. So, basically any armor you wear is going to clip through parts of you, parts of everything, really. Your weapon, your shield, like this. Just infuriatingly so. Now, could that have been avoided? Yes. Would it have been a lot of work for the programmers? Absolutely. Should they have done it? I believe so, but that's for you to decide, I suppose. The funny thing is, though, the thing on your back doesn't even really give you any more, like, protection. I jumped off a little too soon there, so I took some fall damage. We already know what he's got to say. That thing's our enemy. We need to fuck it up. So, if you grab this, like, there's an item there. Not really something that's necessary, but Onion Bro will come to assist you. He's fighting those enemies that are all the way over there again. Just because he can.
No! You should have waited! Well, it's too late now. I, Sigurd of the Knights of Katarina, fight by your side! Ah!
As you can see, health here matters. There, we did it. Ka-chow. And you get a fire gem, which can imbue your weapon with, you guessed it, fire.
That was quite a performance, but you mustn't get in over your head. We unkindled must put our duties first. But, for the moment, we've a toast to make. To your valor, my sword, and our victory together. Long may the sun shine. Well,
Alright, now. Once you've exhausted his dialogue, you've gained the emotes and all that, you want to just double, triple, quadruple confirm. He's definitely asleep and snoring. Because you want to have him for later, because he is very useful. And as long as he survived the fight, which he should, because he's a badass, so it shouldn't be a problem, as long as you don't let him do all of the work, and you're at least hitting the enemy some of the time, he should be very easily able to survive it. Even if you do let him solo it, he'll still probably survive, but I wouldn't bet on it. And once he's gone, he's not respawning, so, you know, take that approach with a grain of salt and be careful. Nextly, there are a number of things just laying around here. On bodies, hanging from things, this thing, that thing. There's two here, one on that and one on that one. One of those is actually an armor set. Very useful, very good to have. So both are good items, don't get me wrong. The Pale Tongue is a Covenant item, but you don't get that Covenant until a decent bit later. The armor, however, is my primary reason for loving coming over here early in the game, because this armor, while heavy as all hell, as you can see, is clearly very good armor. So the only downside of this armor is the fat roll. But a little bit into your strength stat and that won't be an issue. So let's say we take off the heavier part of it and put on something a smidge lighter. Like the cleric gloves and chest. There. Now a normal roll. Once you get down below a certain percent, you fast roll, but the normal roll will suffice. Alright, this one here above me, and that one there, and that one there, are all alive. Or maybe it was the other ones that are alive, but in either case, there's living ones. They hurt. So, they're just not worth fighting either. They don't really give you anything. They're just kind of there to be assholes. They're also slow as molasses, so they're not very terrifying. These, on the other hand, quite dangerous enemies. And right here, you get a terrifying surprise and the human pine resin from that chest. Now, here's where it really gets bullshit. There's two, not one, but two evangelists. And the reason this gets bullshit is because the item that I'm going out here to get, because you have to go item adjacent to get it, and they will follow you, so don't dawdle. The only item up here worth getting is this, Flynn's Ring. It's only useful for certain builds, but it's still useful, so definitely grab that. Next thing is you want to jump off over here. They're still following you. They will stop, I believe, at that edge, though. I don't think they're going to jump. Next, you want to go get those homeward bones, because extra stuff is life in Dark Souls, because extra stuff gives you extra chances at things sometimes. Then, the next and most annoying part is waste an Estus. If you have even a little healing health damage, waste it. Because this fall is not fun. It also depends how heavy your armor is. The heavier your armor, the more fall damage you take, I believe. The lighter your armor, the less fall damage. You still take fall damage, though. The only way to avoid fall damage as a whole, in fact, this blocks a lot of physical, so I'm going to wear the Mira gloves. It's also just a smidge lighter than that. So if I was to equip, say, that, I wouldn't quite fast roll, but this I will. So, you got the Chloranthy Ring. The Chloranthy Ring boosts your stamina recovery. And while you may not think that does much, here's a full bar of stamina without it. I mean with it. Pretty fast, right? Here's a bar without it. Somewhat negligible difference, right? Doesn't seem like it does a lot. but it's still there. Now, later in the game, you get +1 and +2 and +3 rings. Or is it just +2s and 3s? I don't remember if there's a +1. But anyway, you get rings with pluses on them. Now, a ring with a plus on it means that that ring has been strengthened. And a stronger ring means more stat boost. More stat boost means this, more stat, obvious things. Now, being that I have 9,000 souls, and I've just got all the items in this area that are realistically important, including the onion bro, I'm just going to just homeward bone. Not worth the fight.
All good. But what do you really know about these? Let's take a and a such. As if.
Alright, so, first option.
Welcome home, speak. Very well, then take.
We get the levels that we have the ability to pay for. And what I'm going to do there is up my health a couple levels. Now you see, we have almost enough for that second level up.
Farewell, Ashen.
Oh dear me, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? I'll tell you how. These souls. Now, you'll also have souls with the boss's names on them. Don't use those. At least not this early in the game. They're not worth getting rid of. They actually get you strong stuff that you can use for building characters. So you can actually use those to turn them into boss items. And boss items, understandably, because of the soul they are used to create, are strong. Now, the strength of these weapons is indeterminate. It's depending on your usage. One of the more useful ones is the Hollow Slayer Greatsword, which pretty much every single boss is not immune to. Now, say you end up with just that same amount of souls. There's just that little bit missing. And you don't have any souls to use. First, you give her whatever ashes you have, and then you go ahead and buy things. The Grave Key is the one that gets you the Cleric chick. The 20,000 soul one, however, is the one that unlocks the tower up top. I, however, am going to buy the Dried Finger because I find it quite useful. And I'm also going to buy arrows because needed. But I'm not going to buy the expensive ones. I'm going to buy these cheapy 200 of them. Should suffice for now. So that's realistically all you need. You don't really need to strengthen your weapons right yet. You're still pretty good on that front. And I would keep it all assigned to your regular flasks unless you're using magic. And you don't really need to reinforce more. I just kind of did it early game to show it off. Next thing you can do is talk to the Grey Rat here. Now, he sells some items to start with. Quite a few, really. Including the Bandit Knife, which is also a formidable weapon. But it's got a very, very, very short range. Basically no range. He also, however, sells unlimited firebombs and throwing knives, which are useful. He also sells these items unlimited. My personal favorite headgear in the game, just because of the look, is the Thief's Mask. So, everybody has their preference for armor, though.
Heavens. She was already dead. Thank you. Almost. You can keep as...
Now, I do have a little Grey Rat related lore.
You can as... Goodbye.
That bone that you gave him, that we retrieved off that corpse from earlier, is actually his grandmother's bone.
Oh, this pilgrim. And I...
So that's why he's
There.
was even wanting it in the first place. Because it was his grandmother's remains. Now this guy,
Be safe.
when you take the free level, fair warning, it increases your level of hollowing, which is viewable. There is a spot to view it. I think I'm just completely missing it. But there's a spot to view your level of hollowing. Level... I might just not have a hollow yet. You might not be able to go hollow before you take the first level, but what it does is it messes up your dark sigil, or your dark sign, as it's also called. And what that does is every 2 times you die, you can get another free level from him, up to a maximum of 5, including the initial one. I always recommend checking this every time you come here. It doesn't matter what the reason is, or if you've been invaded. Just check it, just in case. So, the fastest way to go about this, to get your free levels, is to go up there, run, and jump off the edge. There, that makes your hollowing viewable. Because once you do that thing with him, you're able to be hollowed. Until you heal the Dark Sigil, which we can talk about later. Which costs souls, by the way. There's 3 locations to do that, one of which is DLC. First location of which is the Firekeeper herself. Once you purchase this tower key, go all the way up to the very, very tippy top. There's a soul there that you can give the Firekeeper from another Firekeeper that actually will give her the ability to heal your Dark Sigil and take away your hollowing. Now, this comes at a cost of quite a few souls. No matter how you go about it, removing the hollowing is not simple. But it takes about 2 deaths, and then you go down here.
Oh, I would do anything for my... Then shall we bear up?
Then he'll let you level up again. I always do this because it's legitimately a free level. So, I mean...
Be safe.
Yeah. Your level of hollowing, however, you will see the effect of here shortly. Because when he draws out your true strength, it makes you more susceptible to hollowing because it increases your Dark Sigil. Now, increasing your Dark Sigil does, in fact, make you hollow faster. So, what we're going to see here is that you saw before it was only going up by a matter of 1 hollow per death. Now, after that one, it's gone up by double. So it's going up by 2 per death. So you hollow much faster the more you do this. So again, this is a good way to do it for 5 free levels every playthrough, especially in the later playthroughs, because it becomes way more hard to level up, so those 5 levels are key. Those might be some of your only levels for the playthrough, even, at a point. I doubt it's going to get that high for me, but that's only if you choose to let your level go that high. Going that high, however, does in fact guarantee that you're going to get modders in your game. A lot. Because most of them have, like, kitted themselves out, or given themselves souls, or you name it.
Oh, I would... Then
So,
shall we bear...
every single level comes at a price. And that price
Be safe.
becomes more apparent the more you do it. But for shock value, we'll cover ourselves up mostly, because I want you to see the drastic change that occurs. And yeah, you do have to die for this. There is no way to just get the levels until later playthroughs. Because once you've done this for the period of what is necessary for it to be done for, you'll end up with like 99 hollowing. Which is the most hollowing you can get. Your counter stops out at 99. Now, I think that was only one, so I'm going to do one more just to be safe. We're not really sure what's down there. We can't see it, so it is what it is. Whatever that may be. Now we should be able to get our third level, I believe it is.
Oh, then shall we bear? Be safe.
Okay. And now we do that again. It's honestly not worth picking up the 4 souls. There. Now, we go and get our 4th level, I believe it is. And then I think immediately after, and I'm going to show you, see your hollowing starts going up pretty quick. It only realistically needs to hit like 25 or so, but...
Oh, then shall bear.
So that was level up 5. Now, the hollowing and its effects become rather apparent, being that you quite literally end up looking like a shriveled up raisin, because it messes with your dark sign there, that white thing spreading all over your body. In previous games it's located in different areas that may be important to lore, but you end up looking like one of the common rabble enemies. More like a zombie, really. And what this means for you is just that your looks are sacrificed, which if you can live with, because again, basically all of the armor in the game covers up your face. You just don't get to see your pretty eyes. So if you can live with that, then what you can do is, just deal with that and call it good. Now, your hollowing will, like I said, only go to 99. As far as I'm aware, it has no other effect than your looks. So, if you're up for that, then I would just go till you're like level 900 with the free levels, and just not worry about healing the dark sign. Just be aware that the higher level you are, the more souls it costs to heal the sigil to maintain your looks. So, in previous games, you would go automatically hollowed looking when you were killed. In the first game, it was called losing your humanity. You would lose your humanity and you would have to use a new one like you would the embers. Now, in the second game, you would lose your humanity and go hollow, but you'd have to use a human effigy to get it back. And those things were annoying. Then, in this game, you have to use the embers. Now, in the first game, you could use a humanity, which you could collect as a collectible item, just like the embers. And it would actually heal you. So you could use them because you had a counter. So you could use them the second you had them. However, that said, once you use them and they're in your counter, you can't get them back. And they can, in fact, when you're killed, be left on the ground or stolen. Now, this guy, Leonhardt, has really cool looking armor. Some of my favorite, really. I just don't like his cape a lot. But after you've exhausted his dialogue, and he's given you the cracked red eye orbs, which let you invade other worlds and kill the host, should you choose, or be killed by the host, should the host decide, well, I'm not taking that, then... Oh, and after you give Loretta's bone to him, and you die once, you should probably talk to him.
Heavens.
You'll get that emote, and then you should go talk to this guy, Cornix of the Great Swamp. He gives you the Pyromancy Flame, which I thought you had to buy, but I guess not. Then you can learn, for the cost of some souls, a few useful pyromancies. Flash Sweat is very useful. Very useful. You can reinforce your Pyromancy Flame with him. Also very useful. Makes it stronger. And a Pyromancy Flame looks like this. Basically makes your hand glow as if it's on fire. And then you would use that to cast fire spells. Or to do this, which is the only spell you can use without actually having a spell equipped, which you snap your fingers and fire comes out. But it costs mana. And it's not the most useful of spells. Now, if we take off the longbow, we might be able to put that on. Yeah, we can at least partially wear the heavy armor. Mostly we can wear the northern armor, except the chest piece, which isn't the most nice looking anyway, although I do like its helmet. All those well done engravings, you know. Yeah, look at that. Pretty. But, all that said, I do think that that is enough live streaming for this evening, because I have work and must go to bed. So, I thank all of you for watching, for what you've seen so far, and I will continue live streaming again soon. And I shall pick up where we left off with this character.